Chapter 2299. She did not see the moment Li Mo heard that Wei Wei Bai was not going with him. That look, TSK, was so sinister and scary. Wei Wei Bai said, "Am I not reacting to the situation? If I agree to elope with him, the most I'll gain is 5 points of affection. How am I going to farm more in the future?" She just wanted to reject him. Then, after 2 days of hesitation, she came to her senses and chased after Li Mo. At that time, she did not believe that Li Mo would gain 5 points of affection, at least 10 points. But when Li Mo heard that she was not going to elope, he gave her poison and told her to poison the old emperor to death. Was this something a human would do? System said, "You want to poison the old emperor to show your trust and affection for him?" Wei Wei Bai held the box tightly and frowned. The old emperor was good to the original owner and was biased towards me. He's about to die, and I want to poison him before he dies. This is not right. System was shocked. Host actually thinks that doing bad things is not right. Does Host still have morals? By Wei Wei, we can't do such a deranged thing for the sake of favorability. System said, "Please say something more humane." Wei Wei Bai said, "Oh, you think I'm stupid? If I really kill the emperor, I'll be a prisoner in the next moment. How am I going to spoil Li Mo?" Li Mo's plan was to bring disaster to the country and its people. He wanted to make her lose her power, and then it would be his turn to kill her. This evil and cute fox spirit. Wei Wei Bai held the box tightly. Pretend to trust Li Mo and go to the palace to see the old emperor. But just don't let him eat the pill. After all, once the old emperor died, everyone would rebel. Li Mo had been waiting for a rebellion for years. She was waiting for Li Mo to eat and drink. If that happened, destroying this place would not be beneficial to the strategy. So Bai Wei Wei leisurely entered the palace. The result was that she didn't have to say anything. The old emperor wanted to be alone and talked to Wei Wei Bai. Wei Wei Bai took it as a form of consolation for the old man. The old emperor was in tears. "Wei Wei, I dreamt of your mother last night. She still resents me for not being able to be with her for the rest of my life, but I still love her the most. You don't even talk about it anymore." So The old emperor was truly guilty. He was guilty of giving birth to so many children. Wei Wei Bai felt that he was as bad as her. The old emperor said a lot of things, and he seemed to be in high spirits. Bai Wei Wei hummed nonstop and secretly yawned a few times. She was relieved to see the old emperor so energetic. If she really listened to Li Mo's scheming princess and sent the old emperor to the afterlife, her position would be ruined. Finally, the old emperor sighed. "I feel much better today. Why do I feel a little thirsty?" "Wei Wei Bai, we've been talking for 2 hours. If you're not thirsty, who is?" With a caring attitude, she brought him a cup of water. "Have some, imperial father." Only by living a little longer could he be her backer. She saw clearly that half of the eldest princess's position came from the former empress's connections. The other half came from the old emperor's favoritism. She saved Li Mo, and the old emperor didn't say anything. The eldest prince flew into a rage, but he couldn't make the old emperor punish Wei Wei Bai. Although the old emperor had many children, the only cinnabar mole in his heart was still the empress. So when the empress stole his power, he didn't care if he was seen as a weak and incompetent man. Wei Wei Bai was still thinking about the old emperor and the empress's love and hatred. Transmigration system. Adonis, come here. Transmigration system. Adonis, come here. /transmigration system. Adonis, come here. Transmigration system. Adonis, come here. Download the at https://m Sashu. Say button below to record this chapter. Transmigration system. Adonis, come here. Chapter 2300. Suddenly, he heard Hehe's voice. She looked up and saw the old emperor clutching his neck, the cup in his hand falling to the ground. Then, the old emperor's eyes turned red. He opened his mouth and flopped around like a drowning fish. He was dead, choked to death by water. "Wei Wei Bai, you poisoned it?" "Bai Wei Wei, am I the kind of person who poisons people?" After Wei Wei Bai said this, she also felt that it was wrong and immediately changed her words. I know how to poison people, but it's not like there's a hole in my brain to poison the old emperor. The system looked at the old emperor who had died a gruesome death. Then what should we do? If you go out, you'll definitely be the murderer. Wei buy a medicine that can bring the dead back to life or something. The system replied, that thing is ridiculously expensive. I can't afford it. Wei Bai said without hesitation, oh, forget it then. Wei Bai was just about to think of another way, such as covering the old emperor with a blanket, pretending that he was not dead, and leaving immediately. Suddenly, a eunuch walked in and shouted respectfully, Your Majesty, the first prince requests an audience. This howl resounded throughout the entire imperial palace. The system and the host were speechless. Wei Bai felt that she was really unlucky this year. Next, the eldest prince rushed in and howled, Father, you died so miserably. Her tears were not meant to be in character. How could she lose? She immediately knelt down and cried, Father, how can you say your last words and go by yourself? Even if you love my mother, you can't die for love. The eldest prince, Wei Bai, ow, he cried more miserably than anyone else. The eldest prince, Wei Bai, was crying too emotionally. With a flick of her sleeve, a small box rolled out and hit the eldest prince on the head. The first prince hurriedly grabbed the box and opened it. A dark black pill rolled out from within. The situation was very awkward. The first prince and Wei Bai looked at each other. Then, the first prince seemed to have sensed something. His expression gradually changed, and he shook the pill in his hand. You actually killed your father and the monarch. You even brought poison into the palace. This is spirit shatter powder. Just a little bit and you'll die. Wei Bai, why are you so knowledgeable about poisons? How did that stupid pill know that it was spirit shatter powder? The eldest prince shouted, Guards, the eldest princess poisoned. Wei Bai felt that she had stepped on dog shit. She brought poison into the palace. Luckily, the old emperor died when she was alone. While sitting in prison, she said to the system, It wasn't easy to coax Lil Li Mo into giving me some affection, but now I'm going to be killed. Because the old emperor was dead, the first prince immediately threw her into the imperial prison on the charge of murdering the emperor. That pill was solid proof. If you didn't want to poison the old emperor, why did you bring poison into the palace? So she couldn't get rid of the charge. She could only wait for the first prince to take the throne first and then execute her. System, don't worry. Your Lil Li is coming to save you. Outside the palace, the imperial guards and Li Mo's troops were fighting each other. They killed until the sky turned dark and the earth turned dark. When the old emperor was still alive, everyone knew not to make a move. Whoever made a move would lose. Now that the old emperor was dead, all the forces had no more reservations. They desperately supported the prince to take the throne. Transmigration system, Adonis, come here, /transmigration system, Adonis, come here. / transmigration system, Adonis, come here. Transmigration system, Adonis, come here. / to make it easier for you to read next time, you can click Save to record this reading. Transmigration system, Adonis, come here. Comma. Chapter 23:01. Wei Bai asked, Did you win? She had been locked up for a week. If not for the system, she would not have known that the outside world was in chaos. Moreover, Li Mo found out that the old emperor was dead and his favorability rose to 75. The system said, You're going to win. Wei Bai immediately tidied her hair and removed the straw from her head. She then posed like a beautiful woman. Do I look good? Does it hurt? The system, Wei Bai lowered her eyes with tears in her eyes, looking very pitiful. She said to the system, I'm just practicing my acting. After all, I know that the pill Li Mo gave me was poison. It was to kill my father and frame me. This is the plot of a scumbag's betrayal. The system heard and concluded that it was true. Li Mo was such a piece of trash that he couldn't even reach the heavens. This time, he was able to successfully take over the palace and give the fourth prince the throne. It was also because of the interpersonal box that Wei Bai gave him. When Wei Bai was not around, Liemo had that interpersonal box in his hands. He threatened an important official of the imperial court. One threat and one approval. As a result, among the civil officials of the imperial court, more than 60% of them supported Liemo. If not for Wei Wei Bai, he would not have such influence among the civil officials. Wei Wei Bai rubbed her chin. So when Liemo comes later, I'll cry about his betrayal and make him feel guilty. Finally, I'll hug him and comfort him. Because I love him, I forgive him for his betrayal. Before the host could continue being smug, the system said expressionlessly, then his favorability will definitely increase. Wei Wei Bai, the system said, it feels like a scumbag and bitch plot. Wei Wei Bai, the system said, but it should be effective. You can continue to be a scumbag. The scumbag you are, the easier it is to get favorability. That was the logic. But why did it sound so disgusting? The system said, after all, the male lead lacks love. Even if he stabs your kidneys in the end, you'll cry and say, I forgive you, my little Ali. Wei Wei Bai, Wei Wei Bai kept quiet, wondering if the system was too lonely. Was it because he saw her and Liemo being lovey-dovey every day? Although it was a terrible trick, it was enough to deal with a character like Liemo who lacked love and security. Her self-sacrifice was indeed the best way to gain favorability. Hence, Wei Wei Bai was eagerly waiting for Liemo to come to the prison to get her. After all, she had already fallen to such a state. If she cried miserably, she would be able to cry a bunch of favorable impression points. In the end, at the last moment, the first prince came in a crazed manner. It's all your fault, bitch. It's all your fault. The eldest prince had failed to seize power, and it was said that the third prince had been put under house arrest. Seeing that the fourth prince was about to be supported to the throne, it was said that there was only one door left in the palace. If he did, the fourth prince would be able to sit on the throne the next morning. The first prince could only wait for death. The first prince's whip was about to come down. The system immediately took out some tools, such as making the first prince suddenly blind and unable to see Wei Wei Bai, or making the whip blind and unable to hit anyone. But in the next second, the system's horizontal bar activated. Ding! Detected that dregs have broken through the limit. Side quest activated. The system and Wei Wei Bai. It's here again, it's here again. It's here again with a nightmare. The side quest suddenly roared. I gave you the position of first female lead, gave you supreme power so that you could raise little fresh meat so that he would kneel and massage your legs, sob, and warm your bed. Chapter 2302. Side mission, you actually warmed the bed for that little fresh meat. You were stabbed but still begged to forgive him. Aren't you cheap? Tell me, aren't you cheap? Wei Wei Bai, side mission cheap, too cheap. The system and the host both went silent. Did the side mission explode? It finally came to life. Side mission, considering that the male lead is trash and the female lead is cheap and cheap, it does not conform to the core values. Remorse point mission activated. Before the main mission is completed, please make the male lead feel endless regret and pain for all the trash he has done. Take revenge. He is trash, so torture him. Using the method of torturing trash, you have to get 5 stars of remorse to be considered a success. The side mission ended with a shout. Side mission failed. Experience 10 days of hell with the system. Frying oil, climbing a mountain of swords, diving into a sea of fire, 10,000 ghosts gnawing at your heart. After the side mission was finished, it was satisfied and left. The system and Wei Wei Bai were speechless. Finally, Wei Wei Bai sighed. The side mission is actually a pissed-off system? The system held its head and cried, I don't want to go to hell. I have normal values, high morals, virtuous, and kind. If I go to hell, my resume will be ruined. Wei Wei Bai, with this delay, the whip actually came crashing down on her body. Wei Wei Bai was jolted back to reality by the pain. She looked up and saw the eldest prince's pale, desperate, and irritable face. Bitch, Liemo is one of your people, isn't he? You killed Imperial Father for the throne. Why don't you just die? The eldest prince wildly whipped Wei Wei Bai. The system wanted to get rid of the whip. Wei Wei Bai had an idea and immediately stopped it. In the end, it became a life guarantee, blocking out the pain and ensuring that she wouldn't die. Although it didn't hurt, the wound would weaken the body. She lay on the ground in a daze, her gorgeous dress tattered and her hair disheveled. The blood from the wound flowed below her. She heard the system's notification and slowly looked up, finally seeing the man who rushed over. He looked like he was smiling, but he also looked like he was crying. The corners of her mouth twitched, but her eyes were filled with despair. Hearing that the first prince had come to the prison to look for Wei Wei Bai, Li Imo dragged his blood-stained sword and rushed over with all his might. He saw Wei Wei Bai lying in a pool of blood. Her veil had been removed, but he couldn't see the color on her face. Blood stained her pale face. Her eyes were blank, and her outstretched fingers seemed to want to grab something. But the only thing that dripped from his fragile fingertips was the blood of pain. Limo's mind was completely blank at this moment. There was only that pair of hopeless, gloomy eyes and the blood all over the ground. When had she ever suffered this kind of torment in her dignity? Limo fought for days with his injuries. He didn't have time to clean up his face, and his hair was a mess. There was even some stubble on his chin. He knew that she had been thrown into prison. When the old emperor died, he gave her the medicine. In his heart, he even believed that she wouldn't believe him. The drug will be tested to see if it is poisonous. But when the news of the emperor's death spread, and she was the one who poisoned him, he was stunned for a long time. At that moment, his heart was filled with pain. She believed him. She never doubted that he would harm her. He risked his life with his injuries. Even when Fang Qingyan stopped him, he still refused to stop. He almost didn't sleep or rest. Finally, after 7 days, he broke into the palace. He came to the prison where the important criminals of the royal family were kept. Chapter 2303. He was afraid that if he was late, Wei Wei Bai would be tortured to death. Fang Qingyun emphasized that she was the eldest princess. Even if she committed a crime that could result in death, no one would dare to humiliate her. Was this what it meant to not humiliate others? Li Mo stared blankly at her finger. She seemed to have seen him. That dark gaze had a bit of light. Wei Wei Bai forced her eyelids open. Her eyelashes were stained with blood as she trembled and stared at Li Mo. There was a trace of fragile dependence in her eyes, as well as a light of joy. But in the next moment, she seemed to have thought of something. That light disappeared, leaving behind a cold hatred. She pulled the corner of her mouth into a mocking smile, as if wanting to say something. In the end, her eyelashes drooped as she fainted. Li Mo's sword stabbed into the eldest prince's back, piercing his chest. He didn't even have time to pull the sword out. He stumbled over to hold Wei Wei Bai. She was so weak that he couldn't hear her, so light that she was weightless. Li Mo's hair was a mess, his armor cold. He was afraid of scratching her. He tore a corner of his clothes and covered her face before holding her up. Blood kept dripping. Li Mo's lips trembled as his eyes turned red. He ran outside while shouting, "Call the imperial physician! Hurry and call the imperial physician!" This night was destined to be a chaotic one. The sounds of fighting echoed throughout the palace. The civil and military officials were in chaos. The next morning, the coronation ceremony was held in a hurry. The 3-year-old fourth prince ascended the throne and announced that the regent would be Li Mo. The man with the greatest contribution to the throne stayed by the eldest princess's side the entire night. Li Mo didn't know how he got through it. The power was in his hands, but he wasn't happy at all. He was even afraid. He was worried that her injuries were too serious to save. When the imperial physician said that she was out of danger, Li Mo found his back soaked with sweat. He was covered in the smell of blood and sweat, but he didn't dare get too close to her. He could only crouch by the bed. His handsome and delicate face was still dirty. He was like a kitten, gently holding her fingers, not daring to move. As soon as the effect of the minimum life assurance wore off, Wei Wei Bai woke up in pain. She only felt that she had died once. That brainless first prince knew that he had failed and was about to die, so he wanted to drag her down with him. She beat her with all her might. If it weren't for the life support guarantee, she would probably have died. If it wasn't for the multiple side quests. Actually, she didn't need to use the trick of injuring herself to gain sympathy. However, she had to go to the bitter hell of 10 days tour first, so she could only let the eldest prince beat her up. Otherwise, how could he show his misery and hatred? She struggled to open her eyes. Her fingers trembled as she realized that she was being pressed down by someone. She turned to find Immerse squatting by the bed. He was too tired. His soft and pale face leaned against the side of the bed, pressing against her fingers. Under his eyelashes, there was an unusually thick shadow. He was as frail and helpless as a poor little animal. There was no sense of brutality at all. Wei couldn't help but tremble. She wanted to pull her fingers back. Immerse suddenly opened his eyes. He stared blankly at Wei, his pale lips trembling. "Oh, Wei, you're awake. Do you want some water?" He didn't dare to look at her after he finished speaking. He immediately let go of her hand and staggered to get some water. He was so anxious that he broke one of the cups. Wei glanced at the 5 stars floating above his head. Above the 5 stars, there was a string of words floating. This was really a drama. Wei's sad and empty expression was about to collapse. Is at https://www.sashu.com// the save button to record this reading. Chapter 2304. Out of the 5 stars, 1 lit up. It seems that little trash Lee still knows how to regret. However, wasn't that regret a bit too little? It was only 1 star. No wonder the side quest was so explosive. He almost killed her. He even made her bear the crime of killing her father and took away her power. Regret was only a small star. He was indeed vicious enough. Immerse poured a cup of water, his fingers trembling. He carefully turned around, but saw Wei reach out, her frail hand supporting herself on the bed. Her face was drained of blood. A pair of dark eyes, dark and sharp. Immerse was stunned. He pursed his lips, about to say something. But he heard Wei whisper, full of sarcasm, "Commander Lee got what he wanted. He destroyed everything for me, made my 4th brother an emperor, and put me in prison. He really calculated every step of the way, and his plan was perfect." Immerse was silent. His eyes were dark and uncertain. He gripped the cup in his hand, not daring to call Wei again. Wei used all her strength to get off the bed. Her eyes were cold as she looked at him indifferently. "I think I have no value anymore. Commander, you don't have to look at me like that. Otherwise, people will think I'm bullying you." Her voice was soft, but every word was like a knife. There was no emotion, no fluctuation. When her eyes swept past him, it was as if she was looking at a repulsive, dead thing. Immerse bit his lips. His dark eyes had a few ripples, a glimmer of pleading. But he didn't dare to make a sound. Like a child who made a mistake, he lowered his head in fear and trepidation, letting her scold him, as long as she could be appeased, even if it was just a little less hate. When he heard that she poisoned the emperor, he actually regretted it, because he knew that this was a complete betrayal, an undeniable harm. Killing the emperor and killing the father. He sent the noble and cold her to hell. Wei walked out step by step. Her white dress was the same color as her face, frightening and tragic. Immerse finally rushed forward, reaching out to help her. Wei sneered, "Don't touch me." Immerse's fingers froze. The next sentence almost sent him to hell. "I think you were dirty." Immerse was stunned. He watched as she dragged her heavily injured body out the door. His blank mind, only one thought. She was leaving. She knew that he betrayed her and took everything from her. So she hated him and wanted to leave him. This thought came in a rush and surged in his mind. Immerse's eyes turned scarlet from the intense pain that pierced his heart and liver. He said, "It's windy outside. You're not in good health, so don't go out." But Wei didn't even turn her head. Her every step was trembling, and her thin back couldn't be straightened. However, she relied on this breath to maintain her elegant posture. Just like that, one small step at a time, they were far away from this place, out of his life. In the next moment, Immerse was behind her. He opened his mouth, wanting to touch her, but remembered that she thought he was dirty. He was indeed dirty. While she was unconscious, he didn't even wash his face. The smell of blood had turned sour. Almost carefully, his fingers pinched the corner of her sleeve. His voice softened. "Oh wait, don't go out in the wind. You're not well." Wei Bai wanted to shake him off. She didn't want to look at him, but she was too weak. Even raising her hand was difficult. She couldn't shake off his fingers. / the Chapter 23:05. Liam O lowered his head and bent his body. His tall figure was made to look like a kitten by his depression and fear. He wished he could lick his face and beg Wei Bai for forgiveness. Wei Bai suddenly stopped and said softly, "Let go." Liam O held his breath and lowered his head, his black hair falling under his eyes as he remained silent. Wei Bai's voice became sharp. "I told you to let go. Did you hear me?" Liam O hesitated for a moment and then shook his head vigorously. The corners of his eyes turned red and moist. "No, I won't let go." His voice was trembling and choking. Wei Bai paused and didn't say anything. Liam O's terrified look was suddenly filled with joy when he saw her like this. Would she still feel sorry for him? Liam O obediently took a step forward, but he didn't dare to touch her. He could only gently tug at her sleeve. "Oh wait, it's my fault. I was wrong, really. You can punish me or even kill me." Wei Bai didn't turn around and didn't even look at him. She only asked softly, "Did you know that the pill was poisonous?" Liam O's fingers stiffened and his drooping eyelashes trembled. Wei Bai said word by word, "Did you know?" Liam O didn't answer and only tightened his grip on her sleeve. Wei Bai suddenly laughed. Her weak laughter was strangely mournful. "You were using me from the start. That so-called liking me is also a lie. You only want that high position, right?" Her voice was cold and hoarse as she questioned. Wei Bai turned around, her eyes full of hatred. Her tears were like knives that wanted to kill his light. Liam O's lips trembled, but he couldn't say anything. Only the intense pain in his chest was beginning to spread. Wei Bai laughed bitterly. Her eyes were bright and moist, without a trace of affection. "Liam O, you've been lying to me, haven't you? Is it? Every single one of them was the straw that broke his back. Liam O only felt his heart empty. All he could see was her eyes filled with hatred. He opened his mouth with great difficulty. "I didn't," Wei Bai asked sarcastically. "Do you still want to lie to me?" Liam O was at a loss for words. He had pretended to get close to her from the start because he didn't trust her. She gave her the poison and asked her to kill her own father. From the beginning to the end, it was his choice. There was no escape. Wei Bai stretched out her fingers. She almost used her fingernails to clasp the back of his hand to make him let go of her sleeve. But Liam O refused to let go. He lowered his eyes, not daring to raise his head. Just like that, he silently grabbed her sleeve. He let her fingernails leave bloody marks on the back of his hand. Wei Bai looked at him mockingly, which made her lower her head even more. "Have I ever wronged you, Liam O?" The indifference was like a whisper from hell. All the gentleness of the past was buried. Liam O raised his head in panic. The wild light in his eyes, the desire ignited by power. It was all replaced by a soulless panic. In this panic, his fingers loosened a little. Wei Bai's face was pale as she fiercely pulled back her sleeve. It was as if she had taken away her feelings. Her lips were bright red because of the blood. Blood rushed her head. When she spoke, blood was also spat out. Wei Bai didn't care about how uncomfortable she felt. She slowly reached out and tidied up her sleeve. She smoothed out all the traces of impinging. Liam O stared blankly as she slowly erased all traces of him. Link to the https://www.sashu.com/link to the https://www.sashu.com link to the https://www.sashu.com link to the https://m sashu.com the Chapter 23:06. His pair of beautiful eyes were finally filled with mist. The killing intent that rose from the sea of blood and mountains of corpses, cold and strong. It was crushed by her gentle movement. Liam O's thin lips moved. His lips were covered in blood from a bite. "Oh, Wei, forgive me this time. I won't do it again." He won't lie to her again. He won't betray her. So, forgive him this time. But he didn't see her softening. Bai Weiwei tidied up her sleeves, her incomparably pale face carrying an indifferent expression. Her bloody lips moved slightly. She said words that were enough to send people to hell. You made me kill the emperor and father, made me destroy love. I won't let you go. This was the beginning of a complete break, the beginning of hatred. Liemo stared at her blankly, only to see her slowly turn around. Then she walked out step by step. Liemo stared blankly at her back. He staggered a few steps before suddenly pouncing on her. He was too impatient. He reached out his hand and threw himself forward, rolling on the ground. But he didn't care about his sorry state. His hair was messy as he reached out and hugged her leg. "Oh, wait, don't go. I won't lie to you anymore." Really? When he had given her the pill, he had done so out of malice. She didn't want to give up everything and elope with him. He was angry, so he gave her the pill. But he didn't expect that she would really give the pill to the old emperor. He thought that she wouldn't be so stupid. She actually believed everything he said. She wanted to save him. She wanted the emperor to live so that he could come back and not be a scapegoat. But he sent her to hell. Lemo's voice trembled as he kept apologizing. "Forgive me this time. Forgive your little Ali this time. Just this once." He hugged her leg and started sobbing. "Oh wait, just forgive me." Wei Bai was holding her body up. Her wound hurt so much that her scalp was about to explode. For the sake of torturing scum, for the sake of 5 stars. Was it easy for her? In the end, she finally got up to show off and was about to walk out. Lemo's hug made her extremely uncomfortable. Wei Bai was on the verge of collapsing. She gritted her teeth and said, "Let go of me and get lost." The whip wound on her leg was healed. It was very painful. "You little jerk." Lemo cried, "No, don't leave me. I won't do it again." Wei Bai wanted to kick him away, but it was too uncomfortable. Wei Bai couldn't lift her feet. Motherfucker, how could he be so cruel? Only 2 stars lit up on the regret value of scum abuse. She said that she wouldn't dare to do it again and that she would forgive her, but that was all she showed. She was using her life to perform and earn regret points. She was a good person and didn't want to go to hell. Wei Bai opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Then she collapsed and fainted. Liemo reached out, caught her body, and carried her in a princess carry. The imperial physician was also on standby and immediately ran over to check on him. Liemo held her hand tightly. The frailty, panic, and pitiful look on his face disappeared. His eyes were filled with tears, unusually clear and sharp. His expression was gloomy and sinister. After stabilizing his injury with great difficulty, Liemo turned to the imperial physician and said, "Adding medicine to make the body weak and unable to walk, will it harm the body?" The imperial physician didn't react at first and answered honestly, "No, especially for the princess's body. She also needs to be added with this type of medicine. Let her rest well, and it will help her recover." /say button below to record this reading. Chapter 2308. Liemo nodded, his eyes soft and dark. "It's fine, she can't get out of here." Advisor Fong, ? Liemo reached out and gently touched her pale face. His voice was clear and gentle. "I'll ask the imperial doctor to add more medicine. She can't leave even if she wants to." As long as she couldn't walk, even if she didn't forgive him, she couldn't leave him. Advisor Fong silently retreated a few steps. His lord's illness was too frightening. It was snowing. After the heavy rain, light snow fell to the ground. The palace had new master. The 4th prince was the emperor and Liemo was the regent. Even in the court, Liemo had the final say. Liemo also followed the proper etiquette. Before the snow fell, he took Wei Bai out of the palace. After leaving the palace, they lived in the princess's residence. This was where Wei Bai was used to living. If Liemo wanted to please her, even a look would do. But Wei Bai sat in a wheelchair, wearing a fox fur cloak with a beautiful face. In the snow, she looked like the most beautiful jade lotus. But she was also extremely cold, never looking at him. Ever since she left the palace, she no longer wore a veil. Her promises to him were broken one by one. She also didn't call her little Ali. The servants collected the first snow in the courtyard to store it for next year's tea. This was what Li Mo used to disdain, but Wei Wei Bai liked it. He did his best to restore the princess's residence. He also restored the things she liked one by one. Only her feelings for him were in pieces. Li Mo carefully held a heater in his hands, his beautiful eyes filled with a soft, pleading look. "Away, it's cold. Warm your hands." Wei Wei Bai wanted to raise her hand, but found her fingers weak. Li Mo saw a trace of sadness in her eyes. He lowered his eyelashes, hiding the darkness in his eyes. He said softly, "The imperial doctor said your blood is attacking your heart and your limbs are too injured. You can't use any strength. You can slowly exercise in the future." Wei Wei Bai was expressionless as she glanced sideways at him. "Go to the courtyard and collect the first snow." Li Mo's eyes flashed with joy. "Wei, are you willing to talk to me?" Wei Wei Bai said coldly, "I just don't want to see you." After saying that, she turned her face away and lowered her eyes, refusing to look at him. Li Mo was thick-skinned and forced the small thermos in her hand. "It's Wei's request. Of course, I have to do it." He completely ignored her last sentence. Li Mo ran to collect the first snow with the servants. These were all things that Wei Wei Bai needed in early spring. If he didn't seriously buy it, he wouldn't even know. Her favorite rouge was made from fresh petals of the season. The tea he drank was not the cold spring water of early spring. It was to store the first snow. Even the clothes she wore and the hairpins in her hair, they were all indescribably noble. She used to be the most honorable princess of the first generation. Everything she wore, ate, used, and saw was the best in the world. Li Mo held the first snow, his eyes blank. At that time, he had relied on a burst of energy and a wanton attitude, holding the mentality of giving it a try, running to seduce her. Later, she loved him, cherished him, and protected him. He was proud of himself, thinking that she coveted his beauty and admired his youthful appearance. So he didn't cherish her feelings. She spoiled him. So when she made him unhappy, he betrayed her and made her lose everything. Until she no longer looked at him, he suddenly realized what he had lost. T. Chapter 2309. Especially when he personally bought her things she loved, and entered her life. He felt that he was a joke. Wei Wei Bai grew up in a place where she had seen everything. Although he considered himself to be top-notch in terms of beauty, he was not the only one in this world. She loved him. From the beginning to the end, it was him. So she respected him and never treated him as a boy toy. She also tried her best to help him gain power. His current power as a civil official came from the box she gave him. One person gave so much. Even the most honorable person in the world gently stepped down from the altar, reaching out to take him into her arms, sheltering him from the wind and rain, protecting him. But because of a single mistake, he completely ruined her love. Li Mo's heart hurt, densely cut. His fingers were stinging from the cold snow, turning red. But Li Mo did not care, even deliberately. Then he carried a jar of snow and hurried back to the corridor, intending to show it to Wei Wei Bai. It was best to let her see his red fingers. Then she would feel sorry for him. But there was no one in the corridor. However, the small thermos that he had given her was left on the floor of the porch. Li Mo stared blankly for a while, then suddenly returned to his cold and gloomy expression. "Where is Her Highness?" The servant immediately lowered his head in fear and trepidation. She went to the backyard. Li Mo pursed his lips, looking down in silence. Then he suddenly turned around and ran to the backyard. The backyard was full of plum trees, and now was the day when the plum blossoms had just bloomed. Li Mo hurried to the backyard and saw Wei Wei Bai sitting in a wheelchair. Her black hair draped over her shoulders, and on her cheeks that were whiter than snow, there was a light red mark, adding to her beauty. His footsteps slowed. He saw the corner of her lips slightly curl, and her eyes softening. Li Mo only felt his heart beating like a deer. How long had it been since she smiled? Li Mo only felt that she was too beautiful. Just as he was about to walk over, a pretentious voice sounded. "Your Highness, this servant picked flowers for you. Are they beautiful?" A sissy voice, a coy and shameless attitude. Limo's eyes turned cold. He saw the young man called Little Six running over with a plum blossom branch in his arms. Wei Wei Bai reached out and took a plum blossom. She lowered her head and sniffed it. Then she praised softly, "The flowers are very good." Little Six smiled. "As long as your highness is happy. Little Six can do anything for your highness." Wei Wei Bai's eyes softened as she smiled and said, "Don't tell me it's just sweet nothings again." These words were spoken in a casual manner, but it invisibly stung Li Mo. Xiao Lu boldly pulled on her sleeve. Seeing that she didn't refuse, he immediately said happily, "Your highness, even if it's sweet talk, it's only sweet talk to your highness. Xiao Lu likes your highness very much." Wei Wei Bai said, "It's no use trying to please me. I'm a useless person now. I can't give you anything." Little Six grabbed her sleeve and smiled pleasantly. "Your highness, I want you to be happy." Wei Wei Bai's cold expression loosened a little. She seemed to have sensed something and looked back. She saw Li Mo holding a jar in his hand. The young man's face was cold and malicious. A pair of eyes stared fixedly at her sleeve. The smile on by Wei Wei's lips disappeared, and her eyes turned cold. As if on purpose, she reached out and carefully touched Little Six's hair. Her fingers didn't dare to touch his scalp. After all, she was allergic to men. Chapter 23:10. From afar, the girl looked very gentle. That young man called Little Six took his place. Li Mo felt as if all his senses were cut in half. The jar in his hand cracked little by little, revealing the first snow falling to the ground. Li Mo smiled coldly, the ruthlessness in his eyes growing. Wei Wei Bai didn't mind, letting Little Six push her wheelchair. When she passed by Li Mo, she suddenly looked up at him. Li Mo trembled. She was almost ignoring him. It was rare for her to call him that. Li Mo immediately looked up, his eyelids trembling, the gloom in his beautiful eyes disappearing. There was a trace of hope. Wei Wei Bai lazily looked at him, then lowered her eyelashes, her tone calm. "I see that Little Six serves me well, so I'll let him serve me in the future." Li Mo could only feel the familiar scent of blood surging into his heart. Murderous intent filled his eyes. Wei Wei Bai calmly said, "You said you want to give me everything to ask for my forgiveness, right? Let me have one more person in my room. That's fine too." Li Mo loosened his hand. His palm was cut by the edge of the jar, but he didn't show it. Instead, he tightly gripped the wound. He showed a brilliant smile. "Ah Wei, of course I will give you whatever you like." Wei Wei Bai coldly smiled. "I hope so. With Little Six, you won't appear in front of me so often. After all, I'm tired of seeing you. It's annoying." These words were said casually without any care. There was no respect at all. Wei Wei Bai calmly said, "Little Six, push me to see the snow." Little Six happily pushed her immediately. "Yes, your highness." When they were far enough, Wei Wei Bai dared to look back. She found Li Mo was still in the same spot, his body emitting a terrifying black aura. And of the 5 stars above his head, 3 were already lit. Those trashy banners were also missing a few. Wei Wei Bai said to the system with a crying face, "How long has it been since the affection went up?" System, from beginning to end, 75. Actually, she was tormenting the male lead with all her might. It was good enough that her favorability didn't drop. She still wanted to increase her favorability? Wei Wei Bai said, "This won't work. We need to increase the favorability. Otherwise, a black-hearted person like Li Mo will definitely explode." Li Mo's forbearance stemmed from guilt. However, even though she tormented him with guilt every day, their favorability towards each other had not reached the point where they would share life and death together. Perhaps one day, Li Mo would take things too hard and kill her with one strike of his sword. Li Mo looked at the sunny young man. He was a psychopath who killed without batting an eyelid. The system said, "You already have other little fresh meats around you. How are you expecting him to increase his favorability?" Wei Wei Bai, "It's useless even if there's a little fresh meat. I'm allergic to him." It was not easy to come to a plane with a high status. There was a pile of young hunks around her, but in the end, she could only look but not touch them. Now that Li Mo was here, he was going to torture him. The main system really didn't care what plane she was in. It didn't give her any benefits at all. She watched the snow with little six for a long time. Wei Wei Bai felt that she had played enough, so she went back to her room to rest. While she was half lying on the bed reading, Li Mo walked in. The young man's ponytail was tied up high, and he wore black clothes that were tied tightly around his waist. He had a pair of eyes, long and delicate eyelashes, and an extremely lovable and obedient smile. "Your Highness." He came to her side, his voice soft and lingering at the end. Wei Wei Bai's fingers trembled, but she didn't look up, treating him as if he didn't exist. Li Mo, on the other hand, used all the charm he had towards her. Download the at https://m sashu.com button at the bottom to record your reading record. Quick Transmigration System. Male God, come here. Chapter 23:11. Even that ugly little six was able to get her to treat him differently. He was also able to be so lovable, so obedient as her slave. "It's time to drink the medicine." His voice was soft as he leaned forward, wanting nothing more than to stick to her. Wei Wei Bai's face was cold as ice, but her breathing stopped. Li Mo saw this, and his smile became even sweeter. She wasn't indifferent. Even if she hated him, she still loved him. There were traces of love. During this time, every time Li Mo woke up in the middle of the night, he would remember the time when she loved him. Her love for him was gentle. That gentleness was too good to be true. His gloomy and evil aura had been dissolved by her. No matter how much Li Mo hated her, he refused to look at her. But he didn't dare to make her hate him. Li Mo held the spoon and whispered, "Your Highness, I will feed you." She was respectful and well-behaved. He deliberately raised his head, revealing his beautiful white swan neck. The youth's face was clean and handsome. His pupils were so clear that one could see the bottom. His appearance was always coaxing and deceiving. If Li Mo could seduce her once, he could seduce her a second time. Wei Wei Bai said coldly, "Scram." Li Mo heard the slight tremble in her voice. Li Mo's eyes deepened. His smile was soft and cute. "Your Highness, drink it and I will scram." Bai Wei Wei squinted at him, pursing her lips in silence. Li Mo seemed to be encouraged as he carefully brought the spoon to her lips. His tone was close to pleading. "Your Highness, drink some." He was afraid of rejection. The pleading in his eyes wasn't fake, it was real. Wei Wei Bai's face was pale. Her skin, which had lost too much blood, felt weak. But her eyes were still cold and hard. Just when he thought she was going to reject him again, Wei Wei Bai slowly lowered her head. Her pale lips held the spoon and drank the medicine. Li Mo was stunned. When he came back to his senses, his eyes flashed with ecstasy. He was afraid that she would be annoyed, so he immediately sped up and fed her the medicine. Wei Wei Bai did not refuse this time. After slowly finishing the drink, she wiped her mouth with a handkerchief and tossed it to Li Mo. "Aren't you going to scram after drinking the medicine?" "Scram." Li Mo held a bowl of medicine. His eyelashes fluttered and he suddenly laid down on the ground. Then he hugged the bowl and left. Wei Wei Bai, the embroidery system, was speechless. "Meli, what's wrong with you?" Was the ball on his body? A moment later, Li Mo rolled back. The young man rolled to the side of the bed and lay on the ground. He supported his face with both hands and said with a smile, "Your Highness, do I look good rolling?" Wei Wei Bai remained silent, but her lips were tightly pursed. He made her laugh. Wei Wei Bai bit her lip, suppressed her smile, and lowered her head coldly. "Let's go. I want to rest." Li Mo narrowed his eyes. Today, she showed the slightest bit of reluctance to refuse. It made him want to push his luck. Li Mo stretched out his hand. His beautiful wrist peeked out from his sleeve. His slender fingers grabbed her dress that was hanging by the bed. As if acting coquettishly, he lowered his eyes and whispered, "Your Highness, I'm so tired that I can't walk. Can you allow this small space by the bed to rest for a while?" Wei Wei Bai's cold eyes fell on him, but she found that when Li Mo rolled around, his collar was loose. Under his neck, his fair skin and delicate collarbone were exposed. His face was unparalleled. When he smiled pleasantly, it was as if his eyes were shining. Li Mo's voice was sweet and seductive like poison. His voice was low, but it was seductive. "Your Highness, I only asked to be a cushion by your bed, for you to step on. For the https://www.sashu.com/ for the full text. https://www.sashu.com for the full text. https://www.sashu.com for the full text. https://m sashu COMT for the full text, comma. Chapter 23:12. Wei Wei Bai stared at him coldly for a few seconds. Li Mo's smile was even more adorable, without a trace of gloominess. Wei Wei Bai said in a low voice, "Get out." Li Mo's smile froze. Did he still fail? The huge sense of loss made him unable to suppress the violent anger in his heart. That little six could do it, but he couldn't. His face was the only thing left that could seduce her. She didn't even like his face. What else could he do to make her change her mind? If she didn't believe him and hated him, what could he do? She would only be fed up with him and wouldn't give him any chance to redeem himself. If one day she found out that she couldn't stand up because he drugged her, then she would hate him for the rest of her life. Li Mo didn't want to see that scene. He couldn't let go of her. If she questioned him and wanted to leave, then he could only reveal his ferocious and crazy side and completely cut off her escape route. At that time, they would really fight to the death. Li Mo's expression was stiff. He suppressed his anger again and again, but still stood up and prepared to leave. When he reached the door, he heard Wei Wei Bai's indifferent voice. "Close the door, I want to rest." Li Mo didn't react at first. When he stepped out, he was about to close the door, but he thought of something and suddenly looked back at the bed. The girl on the bed frowned. Her eyes were filled with worry, but it was only for a moment. Soon, her melancholy disappeared under her calm and icy expression. Li Mo's heart beat faster. He stealthily withdrew his foot from the door. Then he closed the door. When he put his fingers on the door, his fingers were sweaty. After a while, he found that she didn't chase him away. Li Mo's breathing quickened. After a moment of silence, he calmly turned back. Then he walked to the bed. Wei Wei Bai closed the book and pulled the blanket over. She leaned against the pillow and was about to close her eyes. But she heard the hoarse and low voice of a youth beside the bed. "Away," he muttered in a low voice. His usual clear voice was deliberately lowered, ambiguous and lingering. Wei Wei Bai looked up, and her expression froze. The young man had already loosened his belt, and his clothes were hanging loosely under his elbows. His beautiful body was in the dark. There was a kind of bone-piercing beauty. Li Mo smiled like a demon that was about to bring disaster to people. It was not feminine, but it was so exquisite that it did not seem human. His appearance had always been bewitching. When he was young, he did it to protect himself. He disfigured his face and became a dirty, little beggar-like child. He had grown up and had the ability to protect himself. He would kill anyone who coveted him. Later on, he hated trouble, so he would always deliberately change his expression to hide the charming side of his appearance. It was pleasing to the eye, but it was clean and sunny, even if he tried to seduce Wei Wei Bai in the beginning. She had never shown such a bewitching side. Wei Wei Bai was in a trance. She moved her lips as if she wanted to tell him to get lost. But Li Mo was already half lying on the bed. "Your Highness, is it all right for this subject to take up this small space to rest?" His delicate shoulder line and the skin under his shoulders were dazzling white. Wei Wei Bai finally looked away. She forced herself to maintain a calm, outer shell, but she did not dare to look at him again. Li Mo slowly reached out to touch her, but he heard her say coldly, "What else do you want from me?" This sentence was like a basin of cold water. It made Li Mo's body stiffen. Wei Wei Bai looked back at him. Her eyes were already red. Every word she said was heartbreaking. "What else do I have that you have not taken away?" /button. Chapter 23:13. Fang Qingyun carefully suggested, "Why don't we just send him away?" He was obviously jealous of little Six, but he still let him hang around the princess every day. Li Mo was silent, and finally he whispered, "She's happy." Fang Qingyun, "Damn, His master was so arrogant and domineering in the imperial court. When he returned home, he was like a wronged little wife. Liamo lowered his head and walked over. Wei Wei Bai didn't seem to see him. Liamo went over, licking his face. He put away his hostility, and the gloominess in his eyes disappeared. He showed a cute and pure smile. "Ah Wei, it's snowing so heavily today. Are you drawing?" Wei Wei Bai looked up at him lazily. She didn't wait for him to be happy and smiled coldly. Then she looked away and didn't say anything. He was used to her ignoring him. Liamo held back his sadness and continued to work hard. He squeezed little Six aside and smiled. "I can draw too. Can I draw one for Ah Wei?" Little Six almost fell out of the squeezing. Liamo casually crumpled little Six, drawing into a ball, and threw it on the ground. Then he smiled, obedient and cute. He spread out the drawing paper and was about to draw her. But Wei Wei Bai whispered, "Little Six, let's go see the flowers." Little Six jumped up and happily ran to push the wheelchair. "Yes, Your Highness." Then he pushed Wei Wei Bai and quickly left. Liamo froze on the spot. Holding the pen, he anxiously watched Wei Wei leave with that little slut. Fang Qingyun was scared out of her wits. She was worried that Liamo would draw his sword. During this time, Liamo was full of murderous intent to eliminate the other party. The bloody water in the prison was carried out in buckets. The jade-faced Azura that made people tremble in fear. In the princess's residence, why did he look like a little pitiful person who failed to fight for favor and was sent to the cold palace? Liamo pursed his thin lips, his expression unspeakably uncomfortable. The painting under his brush became clearer. Even if she had already left, he continued to draw her. The beautiful girl leaned against the chair, her eyes bright. The smile on her bright red lips was even more stunning. It was as if he could see the girl in the painting calling him sweetly. "Little Ali, my little Ali." Liamo stared blankly at the painting, his eyes red. His voice trembled slightly. "She still refuses to forgive me. Even if there was some softening, it was only a few strands." She blamed him. She hated him. How could he not know? He had done everything he could to make her happy. He had even tolerated little Six. Liamo's lips trembled as he looked up at Fang Qingyun. "Shouldn't we find a few more pretty boys to make Ah Wei happy?" Fang Qingyun, what the fuck? What the fuck? This old woman who couldn't even hold on to her husband's heart had found a bunch of beautiful concubines outside. She was here to curry favor with her husband so that she could gain a little bit of gratitude. Counselor Fang was shocked speechless at his lord who had turned into a resentful woman. He muttered, "I think the princess is still angry, but forget about finding pretty boys. After all, the more boys there are, the less attention she will give you." It was such a simple logic. Everyone understood. Liamo smiled bitterly, the corners of his lips curling up as he looked at the painting. He slowly began to draw again. There were more things around the girl, and the drawing was clearer, but it was an iron cage. "I really want to lock her up completely so that she can't see anyone, so that she can't smile at others." // Chapter 23:14. His smile slowly turned dark. "But I can't bear to." He couldn't bear to part with her softening. If he had been more humble, she would have forgiven him. Fang Qingyun silently took a few steps away from him. Wei Wei Bai said to the system, "After the 3 stars light up, that black-hearted Liamo won't regret it all." She had used up all her tricks. Liamo was like a doe, smiling no matter how much she tormented him. The stars on his forehead didn't move at all. After the 3 stars lit up, the other 2 stars seemed to have solidified. And on the stars, there were even more trash words. This proved that Liamo was more resistant to torment, more sinister, and less likely to increase regret. If it wasn't for her allergy to men, she would have cuckolded him. Wei Wei Bai thought hard. Could it be that my skills in tormenting people have deteriorated? Liamo was thick-skinned and black-hearted, and he completely ignored the usual torments. The system was embroidered with chrysanthemums. You want to increase favorability and torture him, so of course your hands are tied. Why don't you just torture him until he's full of regret, and then increase favorability? Wei Wei Bai heard and nodded slowly. Torture him big, the system said. That's easy. Just find a reason to ally with the third prince, take away the male lead's power, and make him miserable. The male lead loved power the most. If you want to torture, you should torture his favorite. Wei Wei Bai nodded. That makes sense. The system said, after seizing his power, lock him up and fucking him. We'll provide a one-stop service of chains and cages in a small black room. I guarantee that he'll act up in Stockholm, and his regret points and favorability will both rise. Wei Wei Bai said, Damn, that's good. Why didn't I think of that? The system sighed. I didn't want you to complete the mission. After all, it's intolerable to send such a kind, beautiful, and pure system to hell. Wei Wei Bai, because it was a kind, pure, and perfect system's perfect suggestion, Wei Wei Bai decided to extend her evil claws to the third prince. When he was tormenting Li Mo earlier, he wanted to increase his favorability, so he didn't dare to be too harsh. But the thought of seizing power back, locking Li Mo up, etc. At first, the favorability would definitely drop, but after being locked up for a long time, he wouldn't be able to see anyone else. Even a sow could compete with a Jiao cicada. Moreover, she was so beautiful. His impression of her would definitely increase. Even if he failed to seize power, it was fine. He could still torture Li Mo. A plan to kill two birds with one stone. Tongzi was indeed virtuous, kind, and smart. Li Mo was brewing medicine for Wei Wei Bai. The secret guard respectfully handed over the letter. It was Wei Wei Bai who had sent the message. Li Mo stared at the letter for a long time before bursting into laughter. This laughter was sinister, and there was actually a trace of madness that made people fear. Suddenly, he stopped smiling, and his voice was cold and penetrating. Send the letter to the third prince. After so long, he thought that he could at least soften her a little and make her hate him less. But it turned out that it was all because of her purpose. She wanted to join forces with the third prince and fight him off the stage. Li Mo's face was morbidly red, and his eyes were gloomy as he looked at the medicine pot. After a long silence, he continued fanning the furnace, brewing medicine for her. It seems that if I don't destroy your hope, you won't feel at ease staying by my side. Only in the middle of the night. He always hoped that the girl who doted on him would look at him dotingly again. One look was enough, but he had ruined all of this. Li Mo's crazy eyes were tinged with grievance. Is it so hard to forgive me just once away? / to make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click save below to record this reading. Chapter 23:15. Wei Wei Bai knew the letter was intercepted by Li Mo. The princess's residence was completely surrounded. Even a spy's letter would be useless, let alone a messenger pigeon. The third prince was guarded so tightly that not a single drop of water was leaked out. Wei Wei Bai accepted the system's suggestion and started to fight for power. But she knew the best time was over. Li Mo held the power tightly in his hands. The emperor was only 3 years old, and the only one he could rely on was Li Mo. Even if Wei Wei Bai allied with the third prince, it would be impossible to shake Li Mo's position unless they used force. But force was in Li Mo's hands. So her rebellion with the third prince was doomed. Wei Wei Bai touched her face. Actually, I can also take the path of a demoness who brings disaster to the country. But thinking of how Li Mo already did that to me, I don't have enough creativity. Ignoring the beauty discussion, the system said the letter was sent out. The third prince can't come out, but he sent someone to contact you. But the male lead knows. Wei Wei Bai said, power can't be taken, but abuse can still be done. Let Li Mo know that he planned to betray him. Let him experience the sour and spicy feeling of being betrayed. When the letter was intercepted, the fourth star dimmed. Because it wasn't enough abuse, the light was almost extinguished. Wei Wei Bai said, Right, can you let me stand up? The system flipped through it and took out its candy. Here, eat half. I guarantee you'll be full of energy. If the system's food was given to a human, the effect would be tens or hundreds of times better. So it couldn't be given to the host easily. One wrong move, and the host would be poisoned to death. Wei Wei Bai ate the candy and suddenly felt a surge of divine power. She felt comfortable all over. She suddenly felt like she could kick Liam-o, hit Liam-o, spin him a dozen times, and throw him into a cesspool. This candy, the system said, you'll be disfigured if you eat too much. Way by poo. It was snowing heavily, and the red plum blossoms on the plum trees were in full bloom. Liam-o chuckled and lowered his head. He extended his slender fingers and gently combed through her hair. Away. I've made a few sets of beautiful head ornaments for you. When they send them over, take a look and see if they look good. Wei Bai was incomparably cold. She lowered her eyes and didn't say anything. He tied her hair into a bun and put a flower hairpin on her head. In the mirror, she was still cold and delicate, but her beauty had not diminished. Fortunately, she couldn't leave the princess's residence. Otherwise, just her appearance alone would be enough to make her famous. Liam-o looked at her in the mirror. In the mirror, he realized that compared to her, he was dull and dull. Wei Bai unhurriedly reached out and touched the hairpin. Then, she took it out and casually threw it on the ground. Ugly. Liam-o's long eyelashes trembled slightly, but there was no trace of displeasure in his eyes. He quickly bent down and picked up the flowers. If Wei doesn't like it, I'll pick another one for you. But he heard the girl say coldly, no need. I'll get sick of it no matter how much you do. Let little Six do it. You stay away from me. Liam-o held the flowers in his hands. The smile on his face was stiff. He looked at her helplessly and sorrowfully. His thin lips were pressed into a tight line. He looked like he was crying and smiling at the same time. Wei Bai was indifferent. No matter how he humiliated himself, she wouldn't look at him. Liam-o finally lowered his head. His eyes were weak as he whispered, okay. He left with difficulty. Behind him, she suddenly said, today, I'm going to the lake with little Six. Let your dog open the door. / to make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click save at the bottom to record this reading. Chapter 23:16. The door to the princess's residence was always closed. Unless Liam-o came back from court. Liam-o stopped in his tracks. In the darkness, he looked up coldly with his back to her, as sinister as a demon. But his voice was still as gentle as ever. Away, the weather is cold. Your health is not good. Wei Bai sneered. What? You're really putting me under house arrest. Don't you know whether my health is good or not? Liam-o's eyelashes fluttered. This sentence seemed to have a hidden meaning. He clenched his fingers, not daring to persuade her again. But his body trembled slightly. He endured for a long time before opening his thin lips. As long as Wei is happy, I'll go with you, okay? Bai Wei was neither salty nor light as she held the rouge paper and pursed her lips. The bright red was dazzling. She laughed softly, full of mockery. Who do you think you are? This consort is tired of playing with you. It's so annoying to see you every day. I'm going out to get some fresh air, and you're following me. Have some self-awareness. Liam-o's face paled. His body stiffened, and he didn't move. Wei Bai said with a trace of disdain. Go call little Six. You hide far away, and don't let me see you. Liam-o lowered his head, hiding his eyes and his hair. After a long time, she heard him reply calmly, and I'll go. Then he went out and opened the door, only to find the world was filled with desolate white snow. He reached out and rubbed his eyes, wiping away the ruthless pain in his eyes. Then he went to find that little bitch. So many times he wanted to kill that mistress who coveted Wei. But when he thought of making Wei happy, he endured. After enduring for so long, she shattered all his hopes with her own hands. She wanted to team up with the third prince and kill him. When Liam-o returned to his cold and empty room, he saw Advisor Fong eating sweet potatoes. He didn't say a word and kicked the table over. The roasted sweet potatoes on the table fell to the ground. Liam-o pulled out his sword and, without a word, chopped up the sweet potatoes with all his might. Advisor Fong. Then the advisor silently hid the sweet potato in his hand. But he saw Liam-o look at him with a sinister gaze. The advisor silently took out the sweet potato and handed it to Liam-o. Liam-o chopped it up again. Then Liam-o sat down, holding his sword in silence. His expression was terrifying. The tactician also had a solemn expression on his face. The sweet potatoes were rotten, and he had nothing to eat. Of course he would be solemn. A cold wind, Liamo finally said. She wants to betray me. She wants to kill me and leave me. As for the Lord's temperament, she was not in tune with him. Fang Qingyun was already unusually calm. You have to think about the princess's current situation. Originally, she was only second to one person, and above all, she was so noble and insufferably arrogant. In the end, she was reduced to a wheelchair, unable to go out, and even killed her own father. She was betrayed by the one she loved as he spoke. The advisors. He risked his life to conclude, I think it's very difficult for the princess to forgive the person who put her in this situation. In fact, the princess was only treating Liamo coldly. Advisor Fang, couldn't help but think of the fact that he had a partner like Liamo. She had already given him a dozen packs of rat poison to kill him. After he died, she would throw him into the mass grave to feed the dogs. Liamo looked at the sword in a daze. His eyes made one's scalp tingle. He suddenly smiled. I know she loves me. Fang Qingyun choked. If you say so. Liamo lowered his eyes, his smile a bit sad. She just doesn't forgive me. As long as she forgives me, she will still call me Ali. She didn't even call him that now. / button next time, when you open the bookshelf, you can see it, if you like. Chapter 23:17. You can search time travel system. Prince Charming, come to search book www.sashu.com in Baidu to find the S. Liamo's name seemed to stain her mouth. Her new favorite was that little six. Liamo knew that she only let little six get close to her to spite him. That little six didn't even hold her hand. Liamo got up and left with his sword. I will make her love me again. Love? Advisor Fang felt that his head was filled with the word doting floating in the air. His lord, who was decisive in killing people outside. As soon as he came home, he became a whining and unreasonable freak who only knew how to fight for favor and failed. Every time he opened his mouth, he would say something like love. Fang Qingyun was silent for a long time before finally taking out the sweet potato he had hidden with great difficulty. He sighed and ate the sweet potato. I can't see through this world anymore. What the hell is this? The lake water was not frozen yet. Little Six held the umbrella and happily covered the girl in the wheelchair. Her eyes were clean and cold, like deep ice water, cold and elegant like the tip of a plum blossom. The ship slowly moved. Wei Wei Bai was on the deck, quietly watching the snow fall. The third prince's men had quietly gathered. Among them were a dozen martial arts experts, all of whom were raised by the third prince. The rest of the imperial court's forces were mostly cleaned up by Liamo. Therefore, those who were left behind for the third prince were all experts of the same level. Not smart, but not bad at martial arts. One of them seemed to be the leader and handed a letter to Wei Wei Bai. Your Highness, this is what our master hopes you can do. Wei Wei Bai opened the letter and glanced at it. It was nothing more than a sinister plan to confuse Liamo, steal secrets, and poison him. The leader said coldly, Liamo, that disrespectful bastard, must be eliminated. We will do our best to help your Highness complete the mission. Wei Wei Bai smiled faintly and suddenly said, Actually, you can kill him now. The leader frowned and was about to ask something when he suddenly paused. Inside the cabin, a young man in black clothes slowly walked out. His hair was tied up with a red ribbon, and his eyes were exquisite. His gaze was sinister. Liamo held his sword and looked at Wei Wei Bai. He lowered his head like a child who had made a mistake. Oh, Wei, look at how dangerous it is outside. If I don't follow you, who will protect you? Wei Wei Bai, on the other hand, was full of smiles. She turned around, as gentle as poison. Ali, did you come alone? Liamo trembled, a trace of disbelief appearing in his eyes. He immediately smiled happily and nodded. I came here alone. Bai Weiwei's smile became even more beautiful. Her words were vicious. Then it's perfect to kill you. You won't be able to escape from the encirclement of so many experts. After that, Wei Wei Bai's expression turned cold. There was no ambush nearby. I lured Liamo here on purpose so you could take the opportunity to kill him. Then we will immediately lead the army into the palace and support third brother to become the emperor. At first, Those experts thought that it was an ambush. But when they heard Wei Wei Bai's words, their eyes flashed with fanaticism. They immediately pulled out their swords and attacked. Li Imo stood there in a daze. He slowly bit his lower lip, the last trace of hope in his eyes. Finally, it was completely gone. He smiled helplessly, as if he was lost and helpless, just as those people's swords were about to cut into his body. Li Imo unsheathed his sword. Blood, colder than snow, splashed out. For a moment, he thought that if he died under these people's swords. Download the https://www.sashu.com/download the full article. https://www.sashu.com download the full article. https://www.sashu.com download the full article. https://m.sashu.com. Chapter 23:18. Would she feel bad for him? No. Since the day he betrayed her and took everything from her, she would never forgive him. Li Imo laughed. Why couldn't he wait? Why'd he give her that poison? Everyone knew that the old emperor was dying. If he wanted to seize power, he only needed to wait for a month or two and the old emperor would die. At that time, when he rebelled, Wei might not hate him, because he didn't let her kill her father, even if it exposed that he used her in the beginning to support the fourth prince's ambition. He could also win her heart back, because she loved him the most. Li Imo regretted it, so much so that his intestines turned green. He did something so stupid that he lost the one he loved. Li Imo had a few more wounds on his body, but he rarely showed his martial arts. Today, these people met his sword head-on. He didn't hold back at all. All the masters who attacked him died on the spot. Wei Wei Bai's eyes dimmed with disappointment as those people died. Li Imo was covered in blood, but he held his sword expressionlessly, walking towards her step by step. Wei Wei Bai pursed her lips, watching him walk over. Above Li Mo's head, the fourth star lit up. Wei Wei Bai said, "Tongzi, I think Li Imo is going to kill me." The system said, "Don't worry, I'll give you a life guarantee. You won't die even if you get cut a few more times." Wei Wei Bai's mouth twitched, trying to maintain her image as a cold and fearless little fairy. Her face was pale, more beautiful than the snow, but her eyes were too cold, sharper than his blood-stained sword. Little Six saw Li Imo coming and was so scared his legs turned to jelly, but he thought of something and immediately knelt in front of Wei Wei Bai. He opened his weak hands and shouted in fear, "Don't come over, don't hurt the princess." After days of being together, Little Six's favorability had soared to 95. Look at Li Mo's 80. She used all her heart and risked her life to get it. Then, he looked at Little Six 95. She didn't do anything other than reveal her peerless beauty. Wei Wei Bai felt that Xiao Lu's obsession with looks was beyond cure. She and Li Imo felt inferior. Li Mo's footsteps paused. His eyes lost all signs of life, as if he was a puppet from hell, exceptionally terrifying. His hand that was holding the sword trembled. Seeing a broken sword, Little Six immediately picked it up and pointed it at Li Imo in fear. "Don't come any closer, or I'll kill you." He was clearly powerless, but he was like an ant trying to shake a tree or a mantis trying to stop a chariot. He couldn't even hold a broken sword properly, but he still tried so hard to protect her. Li Imo suddenly felt like laughing. Even a spy could fall in love with her and risk his life for her. She had never lacked love. He was the one who cheated her of her feelings. He cheated her by forbidding others from seeing her face and forbidding her from treating others well. By the time he managed to get his hands on her, he had lost her. Li Imo looked at Wei Wei Bai pitifully. "Do you think I would harm you?" Wei Wei Bai's face paled, looking even weaker, but her voice was still calm and cruel. "Have you never harmed me?" Li Mo's eyes flashed with panic. He held the sword tightly, but couldn't refute. Wei Wei Bai smiled weakly. "You're ridiculous. I won't forgive you. I won't love you. If you want to imprison me, I will harm you as long as I'm by your side." Li Mo's eyes were filled with desolation as he looked at her sadly. Wei Wei Bai coldly looked up at the last star above his head. "For your convenience next time, You can click on the save button below to record this reading. Chapter 23:19. She was racking her brains on how to say the most hurtful words. She was running out of ink. She was running out of words that were even more hurtful. The fifth star didn't seem to light up at all. He was too good at enduring abuse. Little Six saw Liemo in a daze and thought there was a chance. He immediately got up and stabbed at Liemo with his broken sword. But Liemo's sword hilt suddenly broke his wrist, and the broken sword fell to the ground. Liemo's sword was about to cut the neck of the youth who stole his love. He was too jealous to the point of becoming a demon. But before the sword could fall, Wei Wei Bai said coldly, "Don't make me hate you more. If you kill him, there will be one more debt between us." Liemo's sword paused, and his red eyes started to moisten. "You want to settle accounts with me because of him?" As soon as these words were spoken, Liemo threw Little Six into the lake. He still couldn't kill the person she wanted to keep. The deck was a mess, and only the cold wind and snow could be heard. Liemo's wronged eyes were filled with despair. His voice trembled. "Do you really want to settle accounts with me? The people I killed, the lives I took, you want to settle accounts with me one by one?" Wei Wei Bai's fingers gripped the handle of the wheelchair, her fingertips turning white. A trace of anger appeared on her cold face. Then she slowly got up from the wheelchair. Shock appeared in Liemo's eyes, as well as panic and guilt. Wei Wei Bai looked at him coldly, without a trace of emotion. "Look, if we really want to settle accounts, how much do you owe me? Paralysis caused by insufficient qi and blood. Do you really think I'll believe such an unreasonable reason?" Her eyelashes drooped, and she sneered. "Medicine? What medicine did you give me?" Liemo didn't dare to look at her, and didn't even dare to speak. Wei Wei Bai stepped forward, and Liemo immediately retreated. In the end, she forced him into the cabin. Unable to retreat, Liemo raised his pale face. His voice was low and almost inaudible. "Away. I was just too scared that you would leave." Wei Wei Bai's expression was unusually calm. "You were afraid that I would be strong, so you used drugs to cripple me. Your love is truly terrifying." Liemo didn't dare to speak. He allowed himself to be beaten and scolded as if this would appease her anger. When Wei Wei Bai saw him like this, a trace of sadness flashed across her eyes. She laughed bitterly, as if she had lost all her strength. "Forget it. I blindly loved the wrong person. From now on, we will be strangers and never see each other again." Liemo froze. She didn't hesitate to turn around and leave. Liemo was about to give chase. She calmly glanced sideways. "If you continue to ignore my wishes, I'll jump into the lake." In this season, the lake was bone-chillingly cold. Her body had been severely injured, and she had just recovered. If she jumped down, she might lose her life. Liemo froze, not daring to chase. He didn't even dare to ask her to stay. He was deeply afraid that she would be so determined that she wouldn't even want her own life. Was he going to let her leave his life? Liemo stood there in a daze for a long time, his heart empty. When he finally reacted, the sharp pain finally surged up like a tsunami. He opened his mouth. "Away. From now on, they would be strangers and never see each other again." This was even more vicious than hating him. At least when she hated him, he could comfort himself that she still cared about him. Bai Weiwei walked slowly and finally walked out of the cabin. She hurriedly asked, "Have you reached 5 stars?" The betrayal had come. The attitude of not caring about his life was also there. Even the super sadistic joke of forgetting each other was brought out. // Chapter 23:20. This should be enough to complete the side mission. The system looked over. No, the 5th star is a little bit bright, not completely bright. Wei Wei Bai. I'm not going to farm the favorability anymore. Damn it. I'm just waiting for the side mission to complete so we can farm it together. Otherwise, the side mission wouldn't be complete. The main mission wouldn't be sweet either. If it wasn't sweet, how could the favorability increase? The favorability had been stuck for a long time. She had been worrying day and night whether the favorability would rise because Liemo suddenly changed his mind and didn't want to be abused anymore. It dropped to 0. After all, If you love someone and abuse them for a long time, you would lose your love. Li Mo was a cruel and merciless person. Once he lost his love for her, he would tear her apart at the thought of how she abused him. Wei Wei Bai felt it wasn't easy for her. Why was life so hard? Wei Wei Bai, Li Mo is so thick-skinned. I'm going bald from abusing this scum. Abusing people also required skill. She thought day and night about how to abuse people to the point of tearing their hearts apart and digging out their marrow. Was it easy? But the 5 stars weren't full. She felt she was out of tricks. Could it be she had to commit suicide or something? The problem was she still had so many favorability points to farm. If she accidentally succeeded in killing herself, the side mission would be over. Wei Wei Bai thought about it and finally spread her hands. Forget it. She would continue to seek death. She would think about it after completing this nightmarish side mission. Today's abuse was enough. She would continue tomorrow. After setting her goal, Wei Wei Bai walked out of the cabin and was about to get off the bed. But she found that Li Mo had popped out of nowhere. He was clearly in the cabin, but he was already standing on the deck. The snow was white and the youth stood on the snow. His blood-stained robe was heavy and his red hair was fluttering in the wind. It was strangely beautiful. Wei, don't go, okay? The youth softly urged her to stay, almost crying. Wei Wei Bai looked at him indifferently. She didn't care about his pain and sorrow. With a flick of her sleeves, her dress fluttered as she walked over slowly and indifferently. When she brushed past him, she didn't even look up. Just as she was about to leave, he grabbed her hand tightly. Wei Wei Bai looked down indifferently. Let go. Li Mo was silent for a moment before releasing her, but his sword was still in her hand. Wei Wei Bai felt her palms sink. Li Mo moved further away from her. His fingers grasped the tip of the sword. As for the sword hilt, it was in her palm. A sweet smile appeared on Li Mo's pale face. Jianzhong, I'll hold it for you. He took a few steps back and pointed the tip of the sword at his chest. This was a strange scene. Wei Wei Bai held the sword hilt in her hand and pointed at the place where the sword was pointed. It was the chest of the smiling youth. His blood-stained palm held the tip of the sword, helping her to support the weight of the sword. Li Mo's eyes curved in a crescent, looking exceptionally adorable. He knew that Wei liked it the most when he smiled like this. He looked especially good when he smiled. Wei Wei Bai's eyes trembled, finally unable to maintain her cold expression. You're crazy. Li Mo shook his head. I just want to repay the debt I owe you. Wei Wei Bai didn't speak, wanted to let go of the sword hilt. Li Mo said, If you let go, will it mean that you still love me and forgive me? Wei Wei Bai sneered. Are you threatening me? Li Mo paused for a moment before asking, Can my life still be used to threaten you? Unless she still cared about him. Otherwise, how could he threaten her? Wei Wei Bai's eyes were cold as she lifted her chin, proud and beautiful. Not anymore. /download mobile button next time. When you open the bookshelf, you can see it. If you like crossover system, Adonis, come over here, comma. Chapter 23-21. Li Mo was stunned. The little bit of joy in his heart was gone. Then he pulled the corners of his mouth, smiling bitterly. Yes, it couldn't be any more. Almost at the same time, he stabbed the sword in his hand into his chest. He had loved power all his life, and now he was at the end of it. But he found that it was not as good as her calling him Ollie. One wrong step in a fit of pique, and every step in the future would be wrong. Li Mo felt the flesh in his chest burst open, and a sharp pain assaulted him. He said with a smile, Sorry, I won't lie to you anymore. From the beginning, it was all wrong. At that time, he didn't know how vicious he was and spread the net of deceit to catch her. In the end, he was also trapped, unable to escape. Li Mo smiled and spat out a mouthful of blood and stabbed deeper, stabbing the sword into his heart. Only then would she remember him. Even if it was because he had left her with the shadow of murder, it was better than being strangers and never seeing each other again. Bai Weiwei was indeed stunned for a moment. She had never seen such a vicious person, holding a sword and stabbing it into his own body. When he stabbed into his flesh, the 5 stars finally lit up. The torment during this period of time had finally awakened that scum Li. Wei Wei Bai had never used so much strength and so quickly, pulling the sword out of Li Mo's hand. The sword was too heavy, and when it left Li Mo's hand, it brought a spray of blood. It immediately fell from Wei Wei Bai's hand and fell to the ground. Li Mo's dark and hopeless eyes looked at her blankly. Wei Wei Bai smiled miserably. The pain and broken feelings in her eyes finally couldn't be hidden. Li Mo, you really are a scourge. Li Mo's vision turned black, as if he was sleep-talking. Have you forgiven me, Ah Wei? As he said this, he staggered forward. The youth who was on the verge of fainting, his eyes lost focus, but he reached out with his bloodied hands and pounced. He thought he would miss, just like every other time. But when his hand came into contact with her clothes, a pair of soft arms took the initiative to hug him. Li Mo's body was filled with pain, and his heart was filled with helplessness and despair. All of a sudden, she was melted by this gentle embrace. Before Li Mo could no longer hold on, he finally heard the girl's soft and trembling voice. I forgive you. The beautiful white snow that filled the sky fell on his wet eyelashes and the wound on his palm. It brought cold, sharp pain. But Li Mo had never felt such warmth before. Ding! The male lead's favorability is at 90. The favorable impression points that hadn't moved for a long time. In an instant, he leaped up. Wei Wei Bai hugged the heavily injured Li Mo and sat in the snow, crying silently. This fucking mission was finally completed. Who would have thought that one day, abusing someone could be so tiring? Fang Qingyun carried the new bedding, intending to change it for Li Mo. After Li Mo was injured, every time he changed the bandages, he would dirty the quilt. He had no choice but to help. He recalled that 10 days ago, when he was waiting for Li Mo's return, he brought his men and rushed to the ship. Then he saw a scene that made his heart tremble. Li Mo was covered in blood, lying in Wei Wei Bai's arms. Wei Wei Bai, on the other hand, was at a loss and in despair. Fang Qingyun prepared for the worst, that Li Mo might not make it. Who would have thought that he could be saved? But Li Mo, who was saved, contracted a different kind of illness. As soon as he stepped into the room, he heard his master crying out in pain. Ah Wei, look, the wound on my hand has split open again. It's all because I was holding the spoon too hard. Counselor Fang, his lord was here again, playing the victim every day. To make it easier for you to read next time, you can click save below to record this reading. Chapter 23-22. Then came by Wei Wei's incomparably cold voice. Drink the medicine yourself. Your left hand is fine. Li Mo said, my left hand suddenly hurts too. I can't hold the bowl. Wei Wei Bai said, drink it or not. Li Mo's voice became miserable. Are you still blaming me and not forgiving me? Counselor Fang, who is this crazy person? Who is this unreasonable idiot that wants to be kicked into a dog's kennel? Ever since Li Mo woke up, he knew that Wei Wei Bai had forgiven him. Every day, he would come up with a sad scene of crying, you want to beat me up, so that he could gain Wei Wei Bai's sympathy. Li Mo said, sob, you don't love me anymore. Counselor Fang was in despair. Then Fang Qingyun heard the sound of swords unsheathing. Wei Wei Bai's cold voice faintly sounded. I suddenly feel that forgiving you is too difficult. You should just die. Then came Li Mo's pleading voice. Wei, I won't do it again. I'll give you a massage, okay? Wei Wei Bai said, scram. Fang Qingyun silently hugged the blanket and turned back. His lord's illness was acting up again. Just hearing it made him want to die. Sigh, why did the princess forgive him? I should stab this incomparably heartless and unscrupulous lord to death with a single stroke of my sword, so that he wouldn't come out now and disgust everyone. In the past, Li Mo was childish, willful, shameless, and narcissistic. But at least his IQ was on the line. But now, she wanted to stab him to death without explaining. With such a lord, he couldn't afford to lose face. Wei Wei Bai expressionlessly spread out a pile of booklets. Her beautiful side profile was serious and calm. Li Mo drank the medicine and carefully looked at Wei Wei Bai. He was actually still not confident. He was worried that Wei Wei Bai was only temporarily moved by him and would still hate him after thinking about it. So during this period of time, He took advantage of his injury to automatically regress his IQ and age to 3 years old. She could do whatever she wanted. He had to try to win her affection so that Wei Bai wouldn't hate him more. He leaned against the side of the bed and watched as she lowered her head and seriously marked the memorials on the table beside her. The 3-year-old emperor, the turbulent imperial court, and the incomparably cowardly empress dowager. If no one was in charge, the country would be in chaos. Liemo was seriously injured. Wei Bai casually asked him to hand over all the important matters of the imperial court to her, and he immediately gave it to her. When the empress was still alive, she had dealt with many of these matters. After the death of the empress, before Liemo seized power, she was in charge of these matters. Therefore, no one questioned her ability to handle things. The only thing he was worried about was that dealing with these matters would bring him power. Liemo's eyelashes fluttered and his eyes were deep as he watched Wei Bai deal with these matters. Wei Bai put down the booklet and stared blankly for a moment before looking up and saying, "Who do you plan to send to deal with the flood this year?" Liemo's face was pale, but there was a faint smile on his lips, giving off a sense of fragile beauty. "Your Highness can make the decision. This subject will listen to Your Highness in the future." Wei Bai looked up and stared at him. There was a trace of scrutiny, wariness, and more than that, doubt in her eyes. Liemo allowed her to stare, but the smile on his lips was even more brilliant and adorable. How long had it been since she looked at him so calmly? She was either annoyed or turned a blind eye. Finally, after doing so much, he was able to get a calm look from her. It was worth it. Wei Bai lowered her eyes. Recently, she was more energetic and her cheeks were flushed, making her look exceptionally delicate. She calmly said, "Amen," /save button at the bottom to record this reading. Chapter 23. Their relationship was still in a state of treading on thin ice. Liemo carefully acted pitiful and foolish, but he didn't dare to be as casual with her as before. Wei Bai also lost her doting attitude towards him. It was more like looking at an insignificant person, only losing her hatred. This made Liemo feel very good. As long as she didn't leave, there was still time. He could make her trust and love him again. The huge stone in Liemo's heart finally turned into gentle spring water. It was no longer painful. The only uncomfortable thing was, "Your Highness, I saw that you were sleeping late recently, so I specially made ginseng soup to nourish your body." Little Six came again. Even if he was thrown into the lake, he wouldn't drown or freeze to death. He really was a smelly homewrecker. Liemo was half leaning on the bed when he heard the voice outside. His fingers clenched into fists and his face turned paler. Wei Bai raised an eyebrow, her voice light and natural. "Come in." Little Six immediately came in happily with a bowl of soup. He deliberately glanced at Liemo and found Liemo glaring at him. Little Six was terrified and didn't dare to look. Risking his life, he put the soup on the table. Wei Bai lowered her head, correcting the memorials. Her movements were graceful and calm. She said softly, "You don't have to go through so much trouble to always cook your own soup. Recently, the imperial examinations are open. Do you want to try?" Little Six may look like a coward, but when he entered her backyard, he also had a status and came from a scholarly family. He also didn't lack scheming and courage. After all, he was able to go undercover for so many years without being discovered. If not for her system, Little Six used to be a spy for the eldest prince. She also didn't know. Of course, his favorability had soared to 90. Whether he was a spy or not, he didn't exist. She thought of the other person who tormented her to death, Liemo, who also only had a favorability of 90. Wei Bai sighed. Why wasn't it Little Six who was the target of the strategy? If the target was Little Six, it would definitely be a peerless sweet cookie. Little Six heard this, and tears burst out. "Your Highness doesn't want this slave anymore?" Wei Bai looked up and smiled gently. "You deserve a better life." Little Six knelt on the ground. "No, being by your side is my life." Wei Bai was silent for a moment before realizing something. She turned to Liemo. She found that Liemo's face was deathly pale. His delicate face was sickly and weak, and there was a complicated expression on his face. It seemed to be the grievance of being abandoned. Wei Wei Bai pondered for a while. In this short period of time, the sudden silence pressed down on the hearts of the two youths present. In the end, Wei Wei Bai sighed. But I don't want your life to be tied to me. As a man, you should aim high and serve the country and the people. Little Six still wanted to say something. Wei Wei Bai sighed tiredly. This is what I want from you. Can you do it? Little Six trembled for a long time before finally showing a sad smile. Then he respectfully knelt on the ground and kowtowed. He stood up and said respectfully, "This commoner will not disappoint the princess." Then he looked up at Li Mo. He said coldly, "If you don't treat the princess well, I will come back at any time to replace you." Little Six immediately turned and left. He ran a little too fast, worried that Li Mo would explode and kill him after he said those harsh words. It couldn't be helped. Li Mo's power was one thing. His martial arts were too high, and he could kill without batting an eye. To make it easier for you to read next time, you can click Save at the bottom to record this reading. Chapter 23-24. After Little Six left, Wei Wei Bai's expression was still calm. But she picked up the bowl and drank the soup bit by bit. From beginning to end, she didn't look at Li Mo. Like an invisible knife, it bit by bit stabbed into Li Mo's fragile and fearful heart. Li Mo lowered his head like a child who did something wrong. Fear appeared in his eyes. He could only try to purse his lips and force a calm expression. After Wei Wei Bai put down the bowl, she suddenly chuckled. "Look, Li Mo, there are also people who love me, not just you." This sentence crushed Li Mo. His eyelashes trembled, and he breathed hard as if a knife was cutting his throat. He replied in a low voice, "I'm the one who loves you the most. From now on, I will be." Wei Wei Bai shook her head, her calm voice showing traces of weakness. "A lifetime is so long, and your promise is so worthless." The wound on Li Mo's chest seemed to have been dug out again. His eyes were red. "I'll give you my life even if you want it. You know I regret it. I regret it very much." This sentence was so cowardly, so helpless. Li Mo didn't think he would be so weak one day. Wei Wei Bai finally turned around gently. Her wide sleeves fell to her waist. The red mark on her face was as beautiful as a flower blooming. She stared at him calmly. Li Mo's pale face showed a kind of calm despair. Bai Wei Wei finally lowered her eyes and said with a sigh, "You only know how to curry favor. It was obviously you who betrayed me first, but you insisted on using your own life to force me. Instead, I became a sinner." Li Mo knew she was angry at him. He used his life to force her to stay. He forced her to forgive him. In the end, he got what he wanted. But he knew this moment of peace was stolen, because she still wouldn't call him Ali. She also wouldn't spoil him. That girl who leaned against the window under the moon and watched his back as he left. That girl who laughed on the boat by the lake. They were all gone. Only the princess, who was full of pain from the betrayal and haggard, had regained her former dignity and nobility. She was right. He only knew how to swindle, scheme, and use all kinds of evil methods. He was wicked to her. He refused to let her go and insisted that she continue to bear his viciousness. Li Mo was speechless, not daring to say anything. But seeing that Wei Wei Bai was about to leave again, he suddenly reached out and grabbed her fluttering sleeve, his fingertips turning white. Wei Wei Bai did not ask him to let go. She only glanced at him, her eyes cold and calm. Li Mo was thick-skinned. Even if his heart was riddled with holes, he could still laugh. "Oh, Wei, my wound hurts." If acting pitiful was useful, he would keep using it. Wei Wei Bai's eyes moved slightly. In the end, she helplessly turned around and walked to the bedside. The youth's eyes, which had lost their spirit, were dyed with fragmented light. He smiled gently, satisfied and happy. Wei Wei Bai sat on the edge of the bed and reached out to put her hand on his collar. Then, she slowly unbuttoned his clothes. On his chest, she saw that the white bandage was stained with blood. Wei Wei Bai looked at it and said coldly, "Are you going to rely on this wound for the rest of your life to soften my heart?" Li Mo's lips were thin and white. His fingertips pinched her sleeve as if he was afraid of being abandoned. He was silent for a while before saying in a hoarse voice, "Ah Wei, Let me be willful with you just this once. Halfway through the sentence, there was reluctance and pain in his eyes, as if tears were about to burst out in the next second. Say button below to record this reading record. Chapter 23-25. When I recover, you can go wherever you want to go. I will fight for whatever you want. You are the master, and I am the servant. His words were broken and serious. He's just an insignificant servant, yet he's willing to risk his life to take the imperial examinations for you. I can also... These words were for a person who loved power and used everything to fight for it. It was like a disaster. Liemo smiled reluctantly. His fingers lifted little by little, tugging at her sleeve. In the end, he saw that she didn't shake him off. He pinched her cuff and rubbed his pale face. His eyes were moist but bright and stunning. How can I lose to others? Others love you, but I love you more. I don't want any power. I want to be the person who loves you the most in this world. No one can win against me. These words were too serious. The favorability was also immediately pried up. Ding, the male lead's favorability is at 93. It seemed that Little Six existence had stimulated Li Mo's sense of crisis. After all, if he didn't love Wei Wei by enough, there was still another person watching covetously. It was useless to kill him. The person who was afraid of dying was the white moonlight in her heart. Never forgetting, it was even more terrifying. How could a living person fight against a dead white lotus? Wei Wei Bai's fingers that touched his bandage quietly trembled. She moved her lips, but didn't say anything in the end. But she lowered her head and gently untied his bandage, and then applied the medicine again. Little by little, she tied the bandage back. This long-awaited gentleness made Liemo not dare to move an inch. The girl's breath was still sweet and soft, with a hint of cold fragrance. A few strands of her long hair fell on his body. Her aura surrounded him. Liemo's frailty of pretending to be obedient and pitiful finally disappeared. His dark and ruthless eyes slowly calmed down and softened. After treating the wound, Wei Wei Bai's fingertips left his body. She pulled her sleeve back from his hand and calmly got up. It should be dinner time. I will call someone. Liemo smiled, completely without a trace of temper. Bai Weiwei didn't care about him, but when she reached the door, she suddenly turned her head and stared straight at him. After a moment of silence, she frowned and said, "In the future, you're not allowed to be willful by harming yourself." After saying that, she stepped out of the door without hesitation. Liemo didn't react at first, but after a while, he couldn't help but laugh. She still felt sorry for him. Ding, the male lead's favorability is at 95. Liemo's wounds healed day by day. He looked for any opportunity to stick by Wei Wei Bai's side. Wei Wei Bai didn't have the time to pay attention to him. After all, the strategy had reached this stage. Sweetness and sweetness were not able to increase the favorability points at all. The only thing that could move Liemo's mood and increase his favorability. It was sweet amidst the abuse. The more she ignored him, the more she would occasionally give him some benefits. That would be of great use. After all, forgiving him did not mean that they would return to the way they used to be. She had doted on him for so long. Anyway, there was plenty of time. Couldn't she make Liemo regret it and kneel to wait for her to go back? Wei Wei Bai leisurely drank her plum blossom tea and said to the system, "Once the scumbag woman cheat man mode is activated, it feels so good." The system looked at the abused male lead who was like a little puppy. After a moment of silence, it continued to embroider chrysanthemums. Since there was no need to go to hell, the host could do whatever she wanted. If she wanted to abuse him, she could abuse him. If she wanted to be sweet, she could be sweet. What could he do to stop her? After all, the host was a mature host and already knew how to attack by herself, so he could finally rest. Tongzi felt that he had entered a retired life. This kind of life where he didn't have to worry about anything. It felt so good. Chapter 23-26. Wei Wei Bai had turned into a big rice worm, so she could only rely on the system to help her with government affairs. She would find time to brew plum tea, eat plum cake, and watch the snow. The only thing was that there was no fresh meat to serve her. This was just a small pity. After all, there was still Liemo, the big loyal dog who had been abused into stupidity. Fang Qingyun didn't even go to the princess's residence because she didn't want to see her lord's stupidity. Every time she saw it, she would regret following such an idiot. Wei Wei Bai chewed on a plum cake and asked the system, "How is Liemo?" His wounds were mostly healed, and he went to court. The system glanced at her, currently interrogating a prisoner sent by the third prince. Wei Wei Bai nodded. The third prince worked with her last time, but before they could come up with a plan, Liemo appeared on the ship and killed a dozen of the third prince's powerful subordinates. Later on, Liemo was injured and didn't have time to deal with the third prince. Now that his wounds were healed, she didn't run away. He happily went to deal with his enemies. Wei Wei Bai asked, "Is the temporary time not fixed?" The system was looking hard at the reports and answered casually, "No." Wei Wei Bai asked, "If this thing isn't fixed, I can't leave?" The system said, "In theory, yes." There was no time limit, so there was no way to determine when to leave. Wei Wei Bai frowned. "Wait, if I complete the strategy and the time is still fixed, I can't leave. Then, when I die, do I have to stay in this plane because of the temporary time limit?" The system, after a moment of silence. Finally, the system said, "It seems so." Wei Wei Bai sat up in shock. "If the temporary time limit can't be fixed, I'll have to stay here forever? Even if the strategy is completed and I die, I can't leave." Previously, it was the main mission and side mission that were tossed around, so there was no time to deal with this problem. But this problem was the biggest one. The system immediately went to check the data. Damn, it's really like that. Time was an indicator because the indicators for each plane were different. In some worlds, such as Xinxia, the age limit was very wide. Therefore, the time display wouldn't simply say that 100 years was a lifetime for the host. Instead, they would treat the time taken as a rule. And without the time display, the host would not be able to leave the plane. This was simply a shocking bug. Wei Wei Bai and the system almost exploded at the same time. "How much is the time monitor?" Bye. No matter how much HP I have, I'll buy it." He would be trapped here for all eternity. Even if he died and became a ghost, he would still have to stay here. Could there be a more ridiculous and ruthless malfunction than this? The system threw away the booklet and roared, "This thing is provided by the government. The supermarket doesn't even have it. Even if you can go to the black market, you might have to wait a few hundred years for a second-hand item like this." The emotion blocker and the full set of equipment for transmigration were all official. How could there be such a thing in private? Even if the black market had it, it would be a rare commodity that had been around for hundreds of years. Wei Wei Bai hugged her head. She thought she could rest. After all, the strategy was almost done. In the end, a nuclear bomb came and exploded on her head. Can it be fixed? The system said, "If you want to find a repairman, you have to line up. The repairman's fee is 800,000 to 100,000 HP every time he appears. Even if we can pay in installments, it will take at least 70 to 80 years to line up and get a repairman to appear." Chapter 23-27. Bai Wei Wei clutched her chest, about to spit out a mouthful of blood. Has the main system not liked me for a long time and wanted to destroy me? The equipment given to her could still malfunction. Have you ever heard of a plan to conquer a plane? Would the equipment break down? Would it? The system's fingers trembled. "Don't be afraid, you still have me. Wei Wei Bai, after a long time, will you break down too?" After all, the system was also provided by the main system. This was a question that he rarely thought about. Perhaps he could also age. A cold wind blew. The system and the host were filled with despair. Temporary time was scarier than a lifetime. How could this problem be fixed? The system finally spoke. "I'll go find a main system and see if there are any other problems." Wei Wei Bai was touched. The system was a poor and pedantic system with no backdoor at the bottom of society. For her, it was going to find a main system to settle the score. Although it was useless, Wei Wei Bai still said, "Do what you can. Don't be bullied by other systems." In midair, a chubby little hand touched Wei Wei Bai's shoulder. Then I'll be leaving. I'll be back soon. Wei Wei Bai felt a weight on her shoulder. She turned around, but there was no one behind her. The system could actually touch her? Limo's face was expressionless as he drank his tea. His cold and dark eyes carried traces of obscure impatience. The sound of the whip piercing flesh was terrifying in the prison cell. The interrogation continued. The third prince's faction was slowly being uprooted by him. Although Li Mo gave power to Wei Wei Bai, he secretly did the rest of the dark things himself. For example, these cruel interrogations. He would not let her get involved. As long as she remained high and mighty, forever being his honorable eldest princess, it would be fine. She did not need to know about the dirty and disgusting things below. Now, the power of the imperial court was slowly returning to Wei Wei Bai's hands. When it was about time, Wei Wei Bai was the one who covered the sky with one hand. She was also the one who had the most power. When the former empress was alive, she was so honorable. He could treat her better than the former empress and make her more honorable. Someone beside him said cautiously, "Sir, the interrogation results are out." Limo's eyelashes drooped down calmly, his eyes cold and dark. "Then kill him." After he finished speaking, he put down his teacup and stood up. Immediately, someone came up and draped a cloak over him. Limo's voice was light and cold. "The evidence is in hand. Remember to impeach the third prince in court tomorrow." The others immediately replied respectfully, "Yes, sir." Li Mo then turned to leave. The bakery in the south of the city should be open by now. Alway liked that shop's plum blossom cakes the most. When Li Mo returned with the plum blossom cake, he bumped into Fong Qingyun, who was about to enter the princess residence with a box. The box contained daily government affairs reports. Fong Qingyun saw Li Mo and bowed. "How have you been, my lord?" Fong Qingyun had already moved into the cabinet, but when she saw Li Mo, she was still used to calling him my lord. Li Mo nodded, carefully protecting the plum blossom cake. "Alway's mood has been better recently. I think everything is fine." Advisor Fong was very used to his bad habit of mentioning the princess every time he opened his mouth, so he was very indifferent. They entered the residence together. They saw Wei Wei Bai sitting in the corridor, leaning on a chair, calmly admiring the red plum blossoms in the snow. The girl's black hair was tied up, her eyes more beautiful than the red plum blossoms. / to facilitate your next reading, you can click Save at the bottom to record this reading. Chapter 23-28. In the white snow, it was so beautiful that it made one forget everything in the world. Fong Qingyun didn't see it clearly. Li Mo was already in front of him, snatching the box in his hand. "The residence doesn't accept guests recently. You can leave first." Advisor Fong. He was chased away as soon as he stepped through the door. Li Mo didn't care. He grabbed Fong Qingyun's collar and threw him out. The door slammed shut. Standing in the snow, Advisor Fong looked at the closed door. Was he his stepmother's advisor? Who did he work like a horse for? He came to deliver the booklet, but he was thrown out the moment he stepped through the door, not to mention tea. Fong Qingyun was lonely and lonely. But thinking about it, the princess didn't wear a veil and was so beautiful that it made people tremble. It was no wonder Li Mo was so cautious. After all, with the princess's beauty, a casual glance. Most of them were little sixes. Wei Wei Bai propped up her face, still thinking about how to fix the malfunction. A cloak was gently draped over her body. She looked up and saw Li Mo lowering his head to help her tie the sash. The youth's breath was tinged with snow, cold and fragrant. "Away, it's cold outside." He lowered his eyes, his gaze gentle. His fair fingers were clean and didn't look like he was just interrogating a prisoner. Wei Wei Bai looked at him indifferently, her quiet eyes reflecting his carefully fawning face. The youth seemed a bit nervous, his breathing heavier. That thick-skinned look was gone. Only a fragile and pleasing smile appeared on his lips. "Away, I bought you plum blossom cakes. Let's make tea." Wei Wei Bai was silent. Just as his smile was about to stiffen, she suddenly reached out and gently hugged his waist. As if she was sleepy, she leaned her head on his waist and lowered her eyes without making a sound. Li Mo's body froze. The girl's breath and the soft touch made his heart beat faster. After a long time, Liam finally reacted. He looked down and saw her thick black eyelashes drooping and her breathing steady. She fell asleep. Did she initiate contact with him because she wanted cushion? Liam stared blankly for a moment before bending down and carefully picking her up. She seemed to be a little uncomfortable. She couldn't help but rub her face against his chest. Liam narrowed his eyes. A dark and dangerous light appeared. After suppressing himself for a long time, he finally carried her back to the room. In the past, she was the one who spoiled him. Now he was at pains to please her. However, he suddenly realized that this kind of relationship was reversed. In fact, it was not bad. He could even understand how Wei Wei Bai used to dote on him. That kind of faint smile when his lover was happy. This would make him happy for a long time. The feeling of doing everything for a person turned out to be even better than receiving. Ding! The male lead's favorability is at 96. Wei Wei Bai couldn't be bothered with a strategy guide recently because the system hadn't returned yet. The malfunction was not resolved. Liam was very annoying. Liam could tell she wasn't in a good mood, so he coaxed her gently. "Ah Wei, can I draw your eyebrows?" Wei Wei Bai glanced at him indifferently and didn't say anything. Malfunction. So when Wei Wei Bai saw Liam, it was as if she was looking at a malfunctioning strategy target. If she had to stay here forever, just the thought of it made her shudder. The place she really wanted to go back to was reality. Her father, her company, her Yi Yuxuan. Even if her feelings were blocked, just thinking about it made her heart ripple. Download the https://www.sashu.com/download the full article. https://www.sashu.com download the full article. https://www.sashu.com download the full article. https://m Sashu.com the save button below to record this reading. Chapter 23-29. Liam held an eyebrow pencil and carefully drew her eyebrows. His eyes were so gentle, and the dark schemes in his heart were all kept on the outside. Now that he was home, he was only her servant. When the system returned, it saw this scene. A lowly little bootlicker and a depressed crazy girl. The system shook its head and whispered in Wei Wei Bai's ear, "You're back. The malfunction is solved." Wei Wei Bai's eyelashes fluttered. The calm gloominess in her eyes disappeared. The beautiful broken light was like the first light of dawn, beautiful and dazzling. Liam paused, holding his breath. Wei Wei Bai looked at the malfunction target and couldn't help but smile. The malfunction can be fixed. Liam looked at her in silence. Finally, he put down the eyebrow pencil and grabbed her arm, pulling hard. She pulled him into her arms. Wei Wei Bai was too happy to react. Her chin was lifted by his strong and eager fingers. The young man lowered his eyes, hiding the crazy possessiveness in them. Then he lowered his head, very gently, and landed a kiss on her red and moist lips. Bai Wei Wei stared blankly. Liam had already left her lips and hugged her, his fingers stroking her long hair. He buried his face in her thin shoulder. "Away!" His voice was trembling. He was at a loss, but more than that, he was overjoyed. "You seduced me. It's your fault." That look of amazement in her eyes, as well as that light smile. It hit his heart directly. He didn't want to offend her, didn't want her to be on guard against him again. So he endured it. But she was the one who seduced him. So as long as he got a kiss, it would calm the beast in his heart. He could still pretend to be a lowly servant for a long, long time. A servant that belonged to only her. Ding! The male lead's favorability is at 97. Wei Wei Bai was confused. What the hell? But the malfunction could be fixed, even if she was suddenly kissed. She would feel happy. Waiting until Liam left, Bai Wei Wei immediately asked the system. In the end, how did it fail? The system replied, "I don't know." Wei Wei Bai, the system replied, "But I can fix it. I consulted a mechanic and I can fix it myself. Wait for me." Wei Wei Bai, is it reliable for the system to repair itself? Regardless of whether it was reliable or not, the system rolled up its sleeves and fixed it by itself. He ran to the repairman and asked him some questions. According to the mechanic, it might be a strong external force that bound the machine. If it was undone, it would be fine. The system suddenly recalled that the damned soul of Yi Yuxuan had chased after it. In this plane, Yi Yuxuan had caught up again. But because he fell into a deep sleep after chasing after them, Liu had no memory of it. It didn't matter if he had memories or not. The great power of Yi Yuxuan's slumbering soul was still restraining the operation of this world. This included the time they were bound. The system picked up the huge scissors and cut the red line on Wei Wei Bai's wrist. He was able to alarm Yi Yuxuan's power. Then his monitor would return to normal. The system took a deep breath and then carefully attached its power to the scissors. He said, "Wei Wei, raise your hand." Wei Wei Bai was eating when she heard the system. She raised her hand in confusion. "What's wrong?" The system did not answer. Instead, it fiercely cut the red line on her wrist. This cut was not a small one. It was a full effort. Red flames came out of the scissors. The red line was cut a little. The system was already exhausted. He forced himself to say, "It's done." Wei Wei Bai took back her hand and said calmly, "Do I still need to lift my foot or turn around?" The system replied, "No, the time display is back." Wei Wei Bai was surprised. "Really? How much time is left?" The system replied, 3 months. Wei Wei Bai said, "The time to conquer this plane is so short. Seems like there are benefits to malfunctioning." The system looked at the monitor and saw that the time limit was 3 months. It could not help but wipe its cold sweat. It really shook Yi Yuxuan's power. Fortunately, it succeeded. Otherwise, if Yi Yuxuan did not wake up, they could only continue to waste time here. Outside, Liu, who was discussing some official business with Fang Qingyun, suddenly felt something sweet in his throat. He wiped his mouth in confusion, only to find that his hand was full of blood. Looking at the blood on his hand, Liu frowned strangely. The comma. Chapter 2330. You can search Time Travel System. Prince Charming, come to search book www. Sashu, come to find the. Liu went to see the doctor and went out. Fang Qingyun asked, "How is it?" Liu was very calm. "It's fine." Fang Qingyun was relieved. Liu called his horse and waited to go back to the princess residence. But he found Fang Qingyun was a bit bashful. "I want to go home for a blind date, so I want to ask you for leave." Liu? Question mark. Fang Qingyun coughed. "I am old and have a career. Should I consider starting a family?" Liu looked at her with a strange calmness. Fang Qingyun's scalp went numb. Finally, Liu said, "Oh, do you think I've succeeded?" Fang Qingyun. Of course you've succeeded." Liu was deep in thought. Finally, he reacted, "I can start a family too." Fang Qingyun. Then Liu got on the horse and whipped it to gallop forward. Fang Qingyun. So did the Lord agree to his leave or not? Back at the princess residence, passing through the corridor, the servants were sweeping the snow. When Liu walked to the door, he saw a graceful and beautiful figure behind a screen through the carved window. She seemed to be changing clothes. Her long dress was very elegant and beautiful, because she never went to court and didn't wear formal clothes. Her long hair depended on her mood. If she was lazy, she would let her long hair fall. Liu silently stood by the window and watched her come out from behind the screen. He could see that her hair was slightly wet and her dress was loose. She looked lazy at home. After a long time, he found out that she was very lazy. Apart from important matters, her life was very simple and casual. This kind of casual attitude, Liu felt that it was a home. Seeing her wet hair casually draped over her shoulders, Liu frowned and walked to the door. Just as he was about to open the door, he suddenly stopped. Then he took off his wet cloak and threw it to the servant at the door before going in. Wei Wei Bai was leaning on a recliner with a pearwood shelf next to her. Her long hair was spread out on the shelf to dry. Liu quietly came to her side. Seeing that her eyes were closed, Her pink and white cheeks finally regained some color. It looked delicious and delicate. He smiled silently, took a clean and dry handkerchief from the side, and gently pinched the ends of her hair. She squeezed the wet ends of her hair dry, just a little, so as not to disturb her. Like weightless dust in the air, he was willing to simply accompany her. If he could accompany her for a lifetime, Liemo lowered his eyes and gently pinched her wet hair. Suddenly, he seemed to come back to his senses and looked up. He saw that at some unknown time, Bai Weiwei had opened her eyes and was quietly gazing at him. Liemo pursed his thin lips, revealing a gentle smile. "Your hair is too wet. I will dry it for you." Weiwei Bai stared at him silently for a while before she finally closed her eyes again. This was a tacit agreement. Liemo was overjoyed. From the time she forgave him to now, she no longer rejected his approach. Liemo felt like he was slowly regaining possession of her. That was enough, Liemo humbly thought, as long as she was willing to forgive him for using her and hurting her. Not chasing him away and giving him a chance to redeem himself was enough. The only thing he could ask for was for her to live a peaceful and happy life. Weiwei Bai suddenly whispered, "You are too strong." Her voice was a bit languid, but there was a trace of gentleness. Liemo's fingers paused, the smile on his lips deepened, and his fingertips became gentler. I know. / for the convenience of your next reading, you can click on the save button to record this reading. Chapter 23:31. Weiwei Bai didn't find this kind of life to be bad at all. In 3 months, if there were no accidents, she should be able to get 100 favorability points. She was waiting for a better opportunity. She could say that she completely forgave him, and then the two of them would live happily ever after. For someone like Liemo, who had a lot on his mind, even the black-hearted glutinous rice dumpling would be moved to 100. Of course, at this time, it was best to be romantic. Weiwei Bai said to the system, "Let's have a petal shower or a sudden meteor shower. This kind of romantic scene is the best." The system said, "There's no such thing. At this time, people would think you're a monster. Meteor showers require the power to control the stars, but they do sell it." Weiwei Bai said, "Is it expensive?" The system said, "It's a little expensive, but you can afford it." Weiwei Bai didn't hesitate. "It's okay if it's a little expensive." The system, the male lead, was so pitiful. He only had a few favorability points left. The host didn't even want to pay a little bit of life points to appease him. The male lead in this world was worthless. Just as Weiwei Bai and the system were discussing the romantic timing, Fang Qingyun was getting married. Liemo and Weiwei Bai were shocked. Weiwei Bai said, "I thought the person he loved was Liemo the system." What shocked Liemo was that it had only been a month since they went on a blind date. This was like matchmaking, matching the horoscope, preparing the betrothal gifts, hiring 8 palanquins, and getting married. That was too fast. Fang Qingyun came to deliver the wedding invitation with a calm strategist demeanor. It can't be helped. The female side is in a hurry, so the wedding is in a hurry. Liemo frowned and took the wedding invitation, asking casually, "Why is the female side in such a hurry?" He had seen too much of the dark side. Could it be that the female side was plotting something? Fang Qingyun coughed awkwardly. "It was a month ago when we went to watch the lanterns in the attic. The moonlight was too mesmerizing, you know?" Liemo was at a loss. Seeing Liemo's confused expression, Fang Qingyun sighed and patted him on the shoulder. "Seeing how you usually act like a veteran, I thought you had already experienced 1,000 things. I didn't expect you to still be so pure." Liemo finally reacted, and his face turned red. She was both angry and embarrassed. "What nonsense are you talking about? The princess, she is so..." Liemo wanted to say something, but he couldn't, because he was indeed innocent with the princess. In the past, he did have such thoughts, but ever since the princess resented him, he didn't dare to have such thoughts to blaspheme her. Even if he did, he had to pretend that he didn't. Weiwei Bai's bad reputation in the past was all fake. He found that she was allergic to men, except him. Therefore, other than him, she would not touch any other man. This made Liemo even more afraid of touching her, afraid that she wouldn't accept this. It wasn't easy to coax her into softening her attitude towards him. He didn't dare to destroy this peace. Fong Qingyun hesitated, then suddenly leaned over and whispered, "Women, other than coaxing, sometimes being a little forceful can make them reconcile. If you go on like this, you won't be able to experience the beautiful moonlight for the rest of your life." He was also worried sick for this boss. She even wanted to interfere in his matters in bed. Wasn't this for the sake of the future? If Li Mo was a lonely old man, guarding the princess for the rest of his life. Chapter 2332. Of course he would be upset. At that time, he would see his strategist living a happy life with hordes of children. He wouldn't even let him wear his little shoes. After all, an old single dog was the scariest. After Fong Qingyun gave Li Mo a few tricks, he said meaningfully, "At the end of this month, there will be a lively fireworks and lantern party on Long Lantern Street. Remember to coax the princess to go with you. At that time, you can rent a room in the pavilion first." After saying that, Fong Qingyun revealed a smile that said, "You know what I mean." Then he flicked his sleeves and left without taking a single cloud with him. He really was the best strategist that only appeared once in 100 years. Li Mo stood in place and thought for a long time. Then, he seemed to have thought of something, and a blush appeared on his white cheeks. He was a bit afraid of being seen, so his fingers unconsciously pulled at his hair, covering most of his face. But that blush stained the tips of his ears. At the end of the month, on Long Lantern Street, there was no snow today, so it could be considered sunny. Li Mo sat by the curtain of the carriage, acting as the coachman. His fingers holding the whip were slightly wet. It was hot sweat from nervousness. When he thought of the fireworks party, Wei Wei Bai's eyelashes trembled slightly, and her eyes revealed traces of tenderness. He couldn't help but smile. It was actually boring to stay in the princess's residence all the time. Her status was noble, and she was bound by too many rules, so it was rare for her to be able to relax. She would also agree. They arrived at the rented loft. Li Mo got off the carriage and wiped his fingers on his clothes, whispering, "I'll wait, we're here." A hand gently lifted the curtain, not waiting for her to come out. Her fingers were already held by Li Mo. His fingers were warm and moist. Wei Wei Bai paused, but didn't refuse. She was wearing a furry cloak, and her face was as white as a pink ball. Under the reflection of the red cloak, she was dazzlingly beautiful. Li Mo's breath stopped, his eyes fixed on her, only to feel that thousands of fireworks couldn't compare to the moment she glanced back. Wei Wei Bai was about to jump off the carriage, but Li Mo suddenly turned around and pulled her hand, causing her to fall onto his sturdy back. Li Mo carried her on his back and stepped through the snow into the loft. The attics here were similar to private rooms. It was used by high officials and nobles. The wine and dishes were all prepared, and the privacy was excellent. On the top floor, one could even see the long street lights and the scenery of the river on the other side of the street. More importantly, it came with a beauty recliner. He said to give her a break. Rest. That recliner was quite big. Li Mo deftly served the dishes. While pouring the wine, he couldn't help but glance at the recliner. Wei Wei Bai didn't notice. She was like a princess, lazily looking at the lights outside the attic. Li Mo's eyes couldn't help but wander to her face. Away again, back again, away again. It kept repeating and drifting. Li Mo said softly, "I'll wait, eat something. The fireworks will start soon." Wei Wei Bai finally looked over. She didn't have any objections, picked up the small wine cup, opened her red lips, and drank. The wine was cold, with a hint of spiciness. Wei Wei Bai's face immediately reddened. Li Mo hesitated, then continued to pour wine for her. He lowered his eyes and was very obedient, without a trace of calculation. But the white fingertips holding the wine jug were trembling. Wei Wei Bai drank a few more cups. She was still discussing with the system. With the current atmosphere, when the fireworks start, I'll hold Li Mo's hand and say how tormented I am. I had no choice but to give him the cold shoulder this time, but I still love him. Transmigration system. Adonis, come here for the https://www.sashu.com/transmigration system. Adonis, come here for the full text. https://www. Sashu. com//transmigration system. Adonis, come here for the full text. https://www. Sashu. Transmigration system. Adonis, come here for the full text. https://m. Sashu. com// to make it easier for you to read next time. You can click save below to record this reading. Transmigration system. Adonis, come here, comma. Chapter 23:33. System. Good luck. He was busy embroidering chrysanthemums and looking at the booklets every day, so he didn't have time for embroidery. Wei Bai. I have to raise the favorability since time is starting to move. 3 months wasn't long. They would leave the plane at the beginning of spring. Limo's favorability was very tenacious. It didn't fluctuate much and didn't rise at all. System, you can do it. Just say you like him, and I'll make sure it goes up. Wei Bai's confidence soared after hearing that. Then she drank a few more glasses of wine without realizing it. When Limo poured wine for her, there was an inexplicable heat in his eyes. Finally, the fireworks shot up into the sky. The attic was illuminated beautifully by the fireworks. Wei Bai narrowed her eyes. Her lips curled up slightly. This atmosphere was romantic. She came back to her senses and was about to say something. But her vision blurred and she frowned, her head starting to feel dizzy. He drank too much wine and got drunk. Wei Bai quickly supported her cheeks with her hands, her lips pouting unconsciously. Her pink face flushed red from the alcohol. She was as cute and delicate as a little longevity peach. Limo held the wine pot. His deep eyes were brighter than the fireworks. He took a deep breath. He knew he wasn't being nice, but he wanted to get close to her for a long time. Limo reached out and gently touched her cheeks. He whispered, "Wei, do you like Ali?" Wei Bai was still thinking about the confession. She said lazily, "I do, little Ali." After saying that, she laughed foolishly. It seemed like a joke, but it made Limo stunned for a while. It wasn't until the fireworks outside the pavilion lit up again that his incomparably handsome face could be seen clearly. He smiled brightly, but his eyes were a bit more wet. Little Ali, how long had it been since he heard her call him that? Why do I love you so much? It feels like we've known each other for a long time. The moonlight was beautiful. Sharing it with you. Ding, the male lead's favorability is at 99. The fireworks were over, and so was the moonlight. Wei Bai didn't even know when she would return to the princess residence. She opened her eyes in a daze. She had a splitting headache. Could it be that Limo didn't like her for a long time? So he took advantage of her drunken state to punch and kick her to vent his anger? She struggled to get up. Just as she was about to get out of bed and wash her face, she was suddenly frightened by a figure kneeling beside the bed. It turned out to be Limo kneeling by the bed. He didn't know how long he had been kneeling. His long hair draped over his shoulders, and his features were more enchanting and delicate. It was as if they had grown up overnight. Even their faces had a hint of maturity. When he saw that she had woken up, he said calmly, "Wei, I'm here to ask for forgiveness." Wei Bai looked at him blankly. I suddenly remembered last night. Wei Bai, well, for an experienced driver like her, it was actually nothing much, haha. But in the next second, she heard the cold sound of a blade being unsheathed. Limo took out a knife and put it in her hand. Wei, I've offended you. Just kill me. Wei Bai held the knife, speechless. Then Limo closed his eyes as if he was at her mercy. Wei Bai was speechless for a while, then suddenly threw the knife on the ground and said impatiently, "What are you doing? Go get some water for me to wash my face." Limo's eyelashes fluttered. Then he immediately opened his eyes and said with a smile, "Yes, Wei." Then he took the knife and went out. When he was outside, he couldn't help but chuckle. She still liked him after all. She couldn't bear to see him die. Limo was laughing when his expression suddenly changed. He took out a handkerchief and pressed it to his lips, silently spitting out a mouthful of blood. He looked at the blood on the handkerchief expressionlessly. then casually stuffed it into his sleeves. // to make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click save below to record this reading. Comma. Chapter 2334. The storm in the imperial court finally calmed down. Li Mo's existence became a synonym for power. When everyone thought he was blackmailing the emperor to order his vassals, he secretly transferred power to the imperial family. Gradually, a name surfaced. It was eldest Princess Wei Bai. At first, no one believed that a person like Li Mo would be willing to listen to a woman. But because of the flood and corruption case, Wei Bai personally went to the imperial court. Everyone still remembered that day. In the heavy snow, the imperial court remonstrated with death, wanting to use this corruption case to weaken Li Mo's power. The local civil officials even went crazy and deliberately hid the disaster situation. Even when the disaster fund arrived, they didn't give out food to save people. They wanted to take advantage of this natural disaster to transfer the resentment of the victims to Li Mo. When the resentment reached a boiling point, those old fellows who planned all the plans immediately used the attitude of perishing together. They wanted to completely break Li Mo's power. These old fellows had been in the bureaucracy for so many years and were all wily old foxes. They finally found Li Mo's fault. If they didn't drag him down, then how could they go up? Everyone wanted the merit of supporting the little emperor. If Li Mo wanted to kill them, could he kill half of the imperial court civil officials? Once killed, his reputation as a traitor would be set. If others wanted to rebel against him, they would have a ready reason. Li Mo stood expressionlessly in the imperial court. Snowflakes flew in through the door. His face was like the snowflakes, pale but cold. The civil official's words pierced the heart. Condoning wolves and thieves, embezzling the disaster funds is a heinous crime. Disrespecting the imperial family is a wolf's ambition. Even if he has the merit of protecting the dragon, but wantonly slaughtering the loyal and killing those who oppose him is also a crime worthy of death. The civil official's spittle was about to drown Li Mo. Just as Li Mo was so annoyed that he wanted to pull these people down and let them see what a heinous crime was and what a crime worthy of death. A cold and heavy sentence broke the clamor of the imperial court. This consort didn't know when this important place of the imperial court had become a market. Behind the red threshold, a slender and elegant figure slowly walked over. Behind him were servants holding umbrellas and a line of attendants. White snow swirled in the air as the umbrella was gently raised. That person's appearance stunned everyone. Her lips were as red as plum blossoms, and her eyes were dazzling. Bai Shui was beautiful, but not as beautiful as her. Women were not allowed to enter the imperial court. After all, she was no longer the girl who sat on the former empress's lap. Therefore, she just stood at the door. Her willowy body was so cold and elegant that no one dared to look at her directly. Li Mo's originally pale and cold expression suddenly changed. He looked over in disbelief, his calm eyes immediately filled with gentleness and warmth. The great demon king Li Mo, who had always been cruel and cold like a nightmare, revealed a pure and cute smile that made people's eyes pop out of their sockets. "Your Highness, this subject greets you." Li Mo lifted his robe and knelt down without hesitation. The other ministers. There was nothing wrong with this greeting, but other than the little emperor, Li Mo would only give a perfunctory greeting. The others could only dream of making him kneel. But at this moment, he was kneeling so willingly. Wei Bai lightly glanced at him, her eyes sparkling and clear. "Why are you being bullied so miserably?" // Chapter 2335. Li Mo immediately looked at her with grievance, tears welling up in his eyes. "Isn't this official week? All the civil officials. Say something human, just nod your head." Wei Bai glanced at him indifferently, her expression cold and calm. Then she didn't say anything, turning around and leaving unhurriedly. Li Mo stared at her back with wide eyes. He was bullied to death. Why didn't Wei feel sorry for him? When he stood up from the ground, he saw that all the civil and military officials in the court were looking at him in shock. Those in the know already knew that their lord almost killed himself in the princess's residence for the princess. Those who didn't know, when they first heard the rumors, they thought he had imprisoned the princess or something. But today they saw. The princess was the devil who was vying for power and profit. What happened next was like the passing of a tornado. The eldest princess personally investigated the corruption case and reallocated the money. All the corrupt, derelict, and deliberately framed officials were pulled out one by one. Those who committed serious crimes, caused the deaths of countless people, and only used power for personal gain. They were all pressed in front of the palace gates. The eldest princess sat on a chair, holding a plum blossom tea in her hands, snowflakes falling. All the damned officials had their pants pulled off one by one, their buttocks exposed, and they were beaten to death. That powerful girl had a noble and elegant attitude. She took a sip of tea, her voice slow and gentle. This princess is not the kind of person who likes to stretch her hands too far, but you all caused the deaths of so many innocent people for your own selfish reasons. I really can't stand it anymore. Among the screams of those people, the girl reached out and gently touched the hairpin on her hair. Liemo gave it to her when he was brushing her hair in the morning. She looked at those corrupt officials who were constantly begging for mercy and screaming. She lowered her eyes and smiled faintly. Her eyes were gentle and beautiful. I wanted to let you die a better death, but you shouldn't have bullied this princess's people. The civil officials had their pants pulled off and were beaten. It was a great humiliation. But thinking of the crimes they committed, it could be said that they deserved it. The blood from that day dyed the snow red. The girl from that day was unparalleled in beauty, ruthless and fair. The eldest princess's power and style spread throughout the world again, just when everyone was afraid that there would be a former empress in the imperial court. The princess returned to her previous attitude of not caring about things. As long as the officials still worked hard, no one would harm them. Liemo began to be respectful to the little emperor, as if the girl behind him specially instructed him. After a while, everyone was used to working hard and getting a salary. After all, there was still Liemo, a treacherous official. Not to mention that everyone was afraid that the eldest princess would pull them again. And Liemo was showing off everywhere. Her Highness, you know, Fong Qingyun, Liemo said, I was bullied. She got involved because of me. Fong Qingyun said, I think she can't stand too many corrupt people. Liemo. Fong Qingyun, I think you drank too much. Liemo said, I'm not drunk. Fong Qingyun, if you say so. It was impossible to reason with fools and drunkards. His lord had both of these qualities. When Liemo went back drunk, he did not go through the back door. He jumped on a roof and rolled around. Like a cat, when it rolled down from the eaves, it landed lightly on the ground and lay on the ground. Chapter 23:36. Then he crawled and crawled until he finally reached Wei Wei Bai's door. Just as he was about to scratch the door with his nails, the door opened. Wei Wei Bai stood at the door, looking at him speechlessly. Liemo lay on the ground, looking at her blankly. Then his beautiful eyes turned. Drunk, he carefully and stealthily reached out and grabbed the corner of her skirt. Wei, he called out in a low voice, and then revealed a cute smile, his eyes curved into crescents. His fair cheeks were stained with red blood, making him look exceptionally silly. Wei Wei Bai looked at him speechlessly for a while, then her mouth twitched. Get up. Liemo immediately sat up, one hand still secretly grabbing the corner of her skirt, the other hand on the ground. Just like a real cat, he sat there cutely. Then he raised his head, obediently showing his neck, looking at her with watery eyes. Wei Wei Bai, drunk and turned into a cat? Wei Wei Bai tried to move back, but Liemo's eyes were fixed on her. Wherever she went, his eyes would follow. In the end, Wei Wei Bai had no choice. Come in. If he left like this, he would freeze to death in front of his door tomorrow. Liemo immediately revealed a satisfied smile. He obediently got up, bent over, and tugged at the corner of her skirt with his fingers as he walked through the door. Wei Wei Bai walked in front, while he bent over and followed behind. Seeing him covered in dirty snow water, Wei Wei Bai couldn't count on him. Too lazy to call for help, she just wet a towel and wiped his face. Liam Mo was obedient, not moving at all. When she wiped his face, he looked up and narrowed his eyes. She undressed him, and he obediently raised his arms. Finally, she pressed him into the bed. Then she tucked him in. "Sleep," she whispered. Liam Mo looked at her blankly, but didn't listen. Instead, he suddenly reached out and pushed her down. Then, he curled up into a ball, almost nestling in her arms. He blushed and looked at her with sleepy eyes. He didn't say anything and just stared at her. Wei Wei Bai said calmly, "Go to sleep." Liam Mo nodded, but he didn't close his eyes. Instead, he stared at her. Wei Wei Bai tilted her head and looked at him in confusion for a while. Finally remembering something, she lowered her head and kissed his eyes. "Go to sleep." Her voice was soft and gentle. Liam Mo was finally satisfied. He smiled and closed his eyes, burying his head in her warm embrace. "Wei." His voice was as soft as a kitten's. "I like you so much." Like. She liked him so much that she couldn't keep it all in her heart. Wei Wei Bai yawned lazily. "All right, stop acting coquettishly. Go to sleep." Liam Mo nodded slowly. "Wei Wei Bai. This guy is so childish that I can't look him in the eye." When Liam Mo woke up the next day, he clearly remembered what he did. His usual childishness was just an act to please Wei Wei Bai. But when he was drunk yesterday, his childishness made Liam Mo slap his face. He woke up early and Wei Wei Bai was still asleep. Wei Wei Bai's eyelashes fluttered. Liam Mo immediately retracted his hand, closed his eyes, and pretended to be asleep. Then he heard the sound of her bed curtains falling as she got up. // to make it easier for you to read next time, you can click save at the bottom to record this reading. Chapter 23:37. Liam Mo opened his eyes and saw her beautiful back outside the curtains, hazy and hazy. Wei Wei Bai let someone in to serve her. After washing up, her long hair fell, and a maid was about to comb her hair. A hand snatched the comb from her hand silently. The youth who had just woken up had a hazy mist in his exquisite eyes, and his long hair casually draped over his shoulders. He raised his hand and made a silent order. Everyone bowed and left silently. Wei Wei Bai was still rubbing her eyes sleepily. Liam Mo was so clingy, he couldn't even sleep well. Suddenly, fingers ran through her hair, making her scalp go numb. She looked up and saw in the bronze mirror. Behind her was that slender youth, looking down and seriously combing her hair. Strand by strand, the comb used its best strength to smooth out her messy hair and smoothen it. Liam Mo whispered, "First comb, may the princess live 100 years in peace." Her eyelashes trembled, and her eyes glowed with a faint light. Liam Mo's smile deepened, and he lowered his head to continue combing her hair. Second comb, may the princess only have one person in her heart. He didn't feel embarrassed saying these words. Even when combing her hair, he didn't use any more strength. He said, "Third comb, may the princess's heart be." Wei Wei Bai tilted her head slightly and stared at him, then pursed her lips and smiled. "Is it you?" Liam Mo's fingers paused and saw that there wasn't a trace of annoyance or displeasure in her eyes. His voice trembled. "Do I have the honor?" Wei Wei Bai turned back and rested her chin on her hands, lazily replying, "As long as you serve me well, you do. Hurry and comb my hair." Liam Mo stared at her blankly for a while, then suddenly lowered his head and smiled, his eyes filled with ecstasy. He put down the comb and hugged her from behind. She was completely enveloped in a warm embrace. He leaned close to her face and looked into the bronze mirror. "Oh, Wei, I hope that we can meet again and again." Liam Mo's clear voice rang out, as if he was making a vow. "I also hope that after I meet you, I will always love you, and protect you." Ding! The male lead's favorability is at 100. Congratulations, host. The side mission and main mission have been completed. You can leave this plane now. Wei Wei Bai listened to the familiar notification. Many times. She was in a trance for a moment before she sorted out the fragmented and fuzzy feelings of Nashi. Then, she resumed her usual indifferent attitude. After tidying up, Wei Wei Bai said to him, "It's almost spring, and the plum blossoms are about to fall. There's a plum blossom tree in the courtyard that's still blooming. Pick some for me." Li Mo nodded. He put on his jacket and said, "Wait for me." Wei Wei Bai lazily waved her hand. She was wearing a pink palace dress today. There was no makeup on her face, but she was incomparably beautiful. Suddenly she said, "Bend over and lower your head." Li Mo bowed his head in confusion. She reached out and fastened a button on his outer robe. "All right, go ahead." She showed a satisfied smile. Her eyes were clear. Li Mo couldn't help but smile. His features were delicate, but there was a hint of joy in his smile. Then he turned around and walked out the door. Blood flowed from his throat. He couldn't hold it in anymore. It gushed out and fell on the remaining snow at the end of winter. The doctor's words still rang in his ears. "The injury has entered the organs. There is no cure." He asked, "How long can I last?" "Doctor, drink the medicine and don't kill. If you don't get excited, you could drag it on for a few years." He asked, "What if I insist on being emotional?" "Doctor, then wait for death." This was the best doctor. If he said there was no cure, then there was no cure. Li Mo used his martial arts to suppress all the side effects. He didn't take the medicine. Emotions still had to be moved. He was still excited. How could he not be excited? She approached him. She looked at him. She touched him. He was so excited that he couldn't stand it. Indeed, after meeting her, he could only wait for death. Li Mo picked a bunch of plum blossoms. The plum blossoms were almost gone, like they were his life. He stumbled back. This was the last thing he could do for her. For the past 3 months, he had exhausted all of his martial arts and suppressed his injuries to stay healthy. It was the limit. Li Mo still couldn't reach her. He fell on the snow in front of the door. The plum blossoms were entwined with blood. He took one last look and saw her sitting in a chair through the half-open door. That peach-pink dress was like a flower, lightly swaying with her movements. Then he heard her whisper to someone, "Let's go back." "Okay, let's go back." / to facilitate your next reading. You can click on the save button below to record this reading. Chapter 2338. The system looked hopeless. Its flamboyant red hair was messy, its pants were rolled up, and its sleeves were rolled up. Then it hugged the corner of its clothes with both hands and ran forward with its short arms and legs. In front of it was a slender figure shining with golden light. The soul that it was holding was snatched away by the guy in front of it. When Wei Wei Bai decided to go back, he had just taken out the soul. Then he saw Yi Yuxuan standing at the door, staring at him with eyes like the netherworld. And lying at the door was the corpse of his plane. The system's mood at that time was a series of, then the system could only bear the humiliation and offer the soul with both hands. "You robber." The system hugged its chest timidly. Its round face was full of forced, awkward smiles. "Why are you here too?" The previous plane had destroyed the previous one. This plane would restrain its power. Then it could control the time of its death. What kind of crazy power was this? Yi Yuxuan hugged the white soul ball. The soul body that was fragile at the beginning was now more solid. His slender and fair fingers gently stroked Tuanzi. The small Wei Wei Bai curled up in the center of the ball, her long eyelashes drooping. She was sleeping peacefully. A frenzied space-time storm swept over in a terrifying manner. Yi Yuxuan ignored it and walked over barefooted. He didn't know why he wasn't afraid of this. It was that simple. Step by step, he walked through the frenzied storm and passed through. But the system was blown away by the violent power. He tried his best to avoid the force, and was almost thrown into the crack where he had lost control and disappeared from this place. Seeing Yi Yuxuan's disappearing figure, the system rushed over and grabbed the ends of Yi Yuxuan's hair. Because of the state of the soul body, Yi Yuxuan's soul body had long hair and was emitting a golden light. Yi Yuxuan seemed to have sensed it. He glanced sideways and looked at the system emotionlessly. In the middle of those beautiful eyes, there was a reflection of the system's puffed-up cheeks from the force of the blow. The system really wanted to say a few soft words. For example, "Big boss, please take me flying. Big boss, you're the best." Unfortunately, he couldn't open his mouth. Yi Yuxuan looked at him coldly for a while. One big and one small, eyes staring at each other. Just when the system thought that Yi Yuxuan was going to kick it out of the room and send it to its death, Yi Yuxuan coldly raised her chin and averted her gaze before continuing to walk forward. "System, you're being looked down on just now, right?" Even though it was being looked down upon, the system still happily tugged on Yi Yuxuan's long hair and ran after him. If they looked down on him, so be it. Powerful Tongzi were not afraid of being looked down upon by others, because he would be able to counterattack in the future. When he grew up, who would be afraid of who? All right, even if he grew up, he wouldn't be able to beat Yi Yuxuan. Finally, they saw the border of reality. Yi Yuxuan stood at the border. That cold and handsome face finally showed some confusion. He still didn't know how to cross this line with Wei Wei Bai, because every time he walked past here, he would directly open his eyes in reality. If he walked over with her in his arms, would she be directly brought into his body? Thinking about it this way, she was in his body, in his body, in his body. Yi Yuxuan hurriedly shook his head. Where did such a strange and paranoid idea come from? He actually wanted to bring her into his body. It was simply a crazy idea. Address of the full text: https://www. Sashu. Com address of the Chapter 2339. The system's heart was already on edge, because just now, Yi Yuxuan's eyes had completely turned gold. Gold, emotionless, the color of the endless wasteland. That was the color of his body of strength. And if he was not wrong, did Yi Yuxuan want to carry Wei Wei by and walk over directly? Did he even raise his leg? He saw it, just as the system was secretly accumulating the power of red flames in its palm, planning to snatch back the soul before Yi Yuxuan lost control. Yi Yuxuan suddenly woke up. The gold in his eyes shrunk to a golden point of light in the depths of his eyes. Then he blinked his eyes, his eyelashes trembling a few times, and finally regained his composure. He looked at the ball in his hand. The white light shone on his cheeks, bringing out a stunning and pure light. It was indescribably gentle. He gently touched the ball to his cheek, squinting his eyes as he rubbed against it. The touch of her soul, so soft and so cute. The system looked at this scene. Damn pervert, damn pervert, damn pervert. Finally, Yi Yuxuan slowly bent down and handed the white ball of soul to the system. Don't drop her. He pursed his lips, unwilling to let it go. The system hurriedly held it carefully, then realized that its hands were too short and Wei Wei Bai's soul was too big. It immediately crossed its arms in front of its chest and nodded solemnly. She won't. You can go. Yi Yuxuan bent down, then reached out and gently touched Wei Wei Bai's soul, his eyes deep. Then, his thin lips lightly touched her soul. In his lowered eyes, the light was thick and deep, like the light in a deep pool. This kiss did not last long, but it scared the system so much that it wanted to slap Yi Yuxuan's face with fire. Was he going to eat Wei Wei Bai? With Yi Yuxuan's current strength, he could really swallow Wei Wei Bai without spitting out any bones. Finally, he took 2 steps back. That slender and beautiful soul completely disappeared in the white light. The system also felt like it had died twice. Yi Yuxuan now looked very calm and harmless. Who knew that one day he would suddenly awaken a huge power when he chased after him? Kill him and Wei Wei Bai. Yi Yuxuan was getting more and more out of control, and the system had no idea what to do. They were all suppressing him and binding him to reality. When attacking the soul emotion fragment, when the fragment returned. He also used the best dream isolation. In the end, he was still discovered. He even traveled through time and space, using his own power to follow Wei Wei Bai's soul. If it weren't for this red line, he may not be able to find her. But Hong Xian's self-healing ability was too strong. The slightly damaged red line had already returned to its original state. Moreover, he still did not have enough HP, so he could not risk it all and completely cut off the red line. The system hugged by Wei Wei's soul and sighed with a steamed face. It's getting harder and harder to deal with. Then, he unconsciously touched Wei Wei Bai's soul. So soft and cute. When Wei Wei Bai opened her eyes, she stared blankly at the ceiling. Why did she feel as if her back and head had been touched by something? It was numbing. She stood up speechlessly and reached out to touch her hair. She seemed to be dreaming that someone was touching her. What a strange dream. Wei Wei Bai rubbed her stomach. She was hungry. She shouted, "Tongzi!" The system said, "Yes, your father is at work. Your doctor is with Yi Yuxuan, and you are still staying at Yi Yuxuan's house. The nanny is already preparing dinner, and dinner will be ready in an hour." Wei Wei Bai. Transmigration system. Adonis, come here. /transmigration system. Adonis, come here. / transmigration system. Adonis, come here. Transmigration system. Adonis, come here. Transmigration system. Adonis, come here. Chapter 2340. System. Is there anything else you want to know? Wei Wei Bai calmly waved her hand. No, I'm going to take a shower first. Then she got up but suddenly paused. Yi Yuxuan and Qin Xiu were together? Why were the two of them together? Was Yi Yuxuan sick? Wei Wei Bai also thought so. After all, if she hadn't poisoned Yi Yuxuan to the hospital, he should be fine. Wei Wei Bai opened the door and walked out. But she saw a strange scene. Qin Xiu's face was ferocious, his face was red, and his neck was pulling Yi Yuxuan's collar. Why? Tell me why, if you're sick, you should treat it properly, whether it's mental illness, impotence, lovelorn, or wanting to die, it can be treated. Why can't you think about it? Wei Wei Bai. Yi Yuxuan's eyes were deep and calm. His white face was still indifferent and calm. I'm fine. Qin Xiu roared. Why did you take sleeping pills? How long did it take to finish the whole bottle? Do you want to commit suicide? Tell me, don't you? Yi Yuxuan stretched out a finger, calmly pressed his hand, and then opened his shackles one by one. His eyes were still as cold as ever. Then Yi Yuxuan reached out, closed the scattered collar, and buttoned it up. He hid the white skin under his neck and shoulders. He returned to his usual elegant, ascetic, and cold appearance. I just took some medicine to help me sleep. Don't make a fuss. Qin Xiu looked at him in disbelief. Do you know how much you took? Not waiting for Yi Yuxuan to talk nonsense, he immediately shouted, the amount of sleeping pills you took was lethal. Yi Yuxuan seemed to be speechless. He looked down and thought about how to explain his suicidal behavior. Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice. Sleeping pills? Yi Yuxuan's eyes trembled as she turned to look. However, he saw Wei Wei Bai with the door half open. Her long, unkempt hair was casually draped over her shoulders, and there was a perplexed expression on her delicate face. Yi Yuxuan immediately sat up straight and calmed her racing heartbeat. His voice softened. It's nothing. Uncle Qin is just making a fuss over nothing. Qin Xiu said excitedly. It's useless to call me Father Qin at this time. Take me to the hospital for a checkup. Yi Yuxuan calmly narrowed his eyes, his gaze extremely cold. No need. At this moment, even Qin Xiu could feel the terrifying aura beneath those eyes. He was even forced to take 2 steps back by Yi Yuxuan's gaze. He felt the hair on the back of his neck stand on end. Qin Xiu took a deep breath and suddenly looked at Wei Wei Bai. She pointed to Yi Yuxuan and said, Your man is going to commit suicide. His depression is very serious. You should pay attention. After saying that, he didn't care what others thought of him. He grabbed his coat and went out. I'm going to hospital. There's no way you can get sleeping pills in the future. After saying that, Qin Xiu angrily opened the door, strode out, and vigorously slammed the door. After the earth-shattering sound of the door closing, the room fell into a strange silence. Yi Yuxuan was still sitting on the sofa. His face was a little pale, but his face was still strong and indifferent. His eyes flickered, and the coldness in those deep black eyes slowly disappeared. Instead, they were covered with a layer of warm light. He repeated to Wei Wei Bai at the door. It's nothing. He's just making a fuss over nothing. Wei Wei Bai thought about the conversation between Qin Xiu and him from beginning to end. Finally, she said with certainty, Did you take sleeping pills? and read the ad. https://m Sashu. Com Collections. Chapter 2341. Yi Yuxuan pursed his lips silently and even looked away. He looked guilty. Was he still Yi Yuxuan? He was as cold and calm as a robot, and everything was in his hands. He was Yi Yuxuan. Wei Wei Bai walked out barefoot. Because of her long sleep, her ankles were a little slender and fragile. She came to Yi Yuxuan and sat directly on the table. She looked at him face to face. "Tell me, how much did you take?" Qin Xiu could shout so excitedly. How many sleeping pills could make a person like Qin Xiu so angry? Yi Yuxuan crossed his hands. His breathing was calm, but a little heavier. He lowered his eyes and said indifferently, "Not much." He threw the bottle of sleeping pills into the trash can, and then he fell asleep. This time he slept for a full 36 hours. Qin Xiu sensed that something was wrong with him and was about to move him to the hospital. He opened his eyes. He happened to see the servant turn over the bottle of sleeping pills and Qin Xiu's angry face. Next time he had to destroy the evidence. Yi Yuxuan's eyes were a little wandering, as if thinking about how to say it. After all, the amount of sleeping pills was indeed a little too much. Wei Wei Bai narrowed her eyes, leaned forward, and said in a light and steady voice, "Why did you take sleeping pills?" Yi Yuxuan's long eyelashes covered his eyes. His expression was very calm, but his tone was a little cute. "I couldn't sleep." Wei Wei Bai. "Then how many did you take? 2, 3, or 4? Yi Yuxuan. "Half a bottle." "About 40 or 50. It was indeed several times the lethal amount. He saw Wei Wei Bai's clear eyes looking at him coldly, as if to stare a hole in him. He finally answered slowly, "Just a few." Wei Wei Bai frowned. "You've never taken sleeping pills." Yi Yuxuan thought for a moment, then nodded, but his beautiful eyes gently moved away. During this period of time, he had eaten it 2 or 3 times. Wei Wei Bai heaved a long sigh of relief. She reached out and patted him on the shoulder. She moved closer to him and looked into his black eyes seriously. "Remember not to take too many sleeping pills in the future. If you have insomnia, do something relaxing. Otherwise, people will worry." Yi Yuxuan faintly raised his eyes and looked at her deeply. That focused gaze removed the coldness that covered the surface of his eyes, revealing the warm and gentle emotions within. His voice was incomparably hoarse. "The only thing that makes me relaxed is following you." Wei Wei Bai was startled by the sudden flirting and the unexpected sweet words. She blushed. She blinked her eyes. She had wanted to suppress her wildly beating heart, but in the end, she still couldn't suppress it. She couldn't help but laugh. "Ah, then you won't have it easy next time. Just look at me. I don't charge tickets." Yi Yuxuan looked at her gently, then reached out and gently tucked her long hair behind her ear. At the same time, he stroked the top of her head with his finger. It was soft and very cute. Wei Wei Bai was like a cat. She bowed her head comfortably as he stroked her. The ambiguity between the two of them was like a pink bubble being popped. It was full of sour romance. Yi Yuxuan quietly lowered his eyes and very naturally lowered his head. His thin lips almost touched her white and tender face. The door was opened. The two people separated in fright. Qin Xiu hurried over. "No, you still have to go to the hospital with me. You took so many sleeping pills." He reached out to grab Yi Yuxuan's arm, but was suddenly grabbed by Yi Yuxuan and flung away. Wei Wei Bai suddenly felt that something was wrong. Qin Xiu was too excited. "Didn't you just take a few?" Qin Xiu anxiously scratched his head. "At least a few dozen." Wei Wei Bai. Then she looked at Yi Yuxuan. He immediately bowed his head obediently. His bangs covered his eyes, and he sat obediently. Wei Wei Bai suddenly smiled. "A few sleeping pills?" Then she slowly reached out and touched the top of his head. She calmly said, "Ah, you've learned to lie, Xian Xian." Yi Yuxuan suddenly felt that his neck was a little cold. //T. Chapter 2342. Wei Wei Bai sat at the entrance of the hospital corridor, waiting for Yi Yuxuan's checkup results. A person who took dozens of sleeping pills, slept for more than 30 hours, and then jumped up and down a lie. Wei Wei Bai said, Yi Yuxuan is not human, right? The system was speechless. Wei Wei Bai said, Don't lie to me, I want to hear the truth. The system was silent for a while, and finally answered hesitantly, He is human. He was indeed human. He was a human. He was just a slightly more powerful person. Wei Wei Bai was silent for a while, and then said eerily, Oh, now you're lying to me too. The system felt a chill on its neck. Wei Wei Bai said, He has so much life points, he didn't die even after taking sleeping pills. Let me guess his identity. The system was speechless. Damn it. The host was suspicious. His heart was beating fast. Wei Wei Bai thought for a while. Is he? The system's heart skipped a beat. Bai Wei Wei calmly clenched her fist and hammered the palm of her hand. She suddenly realized, is it a demon? And he has so much life points. Is he a tortoise demon? The system was speechless. Wei Wei Bai frowned. If he's not a tortoise demon, then he's... The system was speechless. Wei Wei Bai understood again. He's so beautiful, he's so seductive, he must be a fox demon. The system was speechless. Wei Wei Bai touched his chin strangely. That's not right. Could he be a sweet potato demon, a rock demon, or a male psycho? The system silently held its forehead. It was relieved. If the host kept on guessing, he would not be able to find out Yi Yuxuan's identity in 10,000 years. Wei Wei Bai suddenly asked, But why did Yi Yuxuan suddenly take sleeping pills? Could it be, system? Could the host have guessed that Yi Yuxuan's sleep cycle is very similar to hers? Bai Wei Wei had a look of understanding. Is it really depression? Wei Wei Bai's expression turned gloomy again. If it's really depression, it'll be very troublesome. This is a condition I'm very familiar with. System, that's right. I like to use this kind of illness to scam for plain fragments the most. Wei Wei Bai, did something happen to Yi Yuxuan recently? Is it because the company went bankrupt? Or is it because I don't agree to the marriage? Wei Wei Bai sighed. It's my fault for being so charming. He's in so much pain. If you say so, then so be it. Wei Wei Bai said, Then I'll treat him better, in case he suddenly becomes manic one day and kills me. System. So you're being nice to him just so you don't get chopped up? Wasn't it because he liked her? He suddenly stopped believing in love. Qin Xiu came out with several doctors who were bowing their heads and talking about something. Wei Wei Bai immediately stood up and asked, How is it? How is your body? Qin Xiu waved at the doctors. After they left, he came over with the investigation form. Some of the investigation data is not out yet, but the preliminary judgment is that his body is fine. There is the case of Wei Wei Bai waking up for 3 days, and the more she slept, the better her heart was. She recovered from her heart disease by sleeping. Yi Yuxuan had taken a lethal amount of sleeping pills, but in the end his body was still in perfect health. Qin Xiu was not frightened by it. Of course, this kind of case had to be covered up, or else it would scare people to death. Fortunately, the hospital was funded by the Yi family, and he was the main person in charge. Wei Wei Bai and Yi Yuxuan, these two strange cases, could be perfectly covered up. Wei Wei Bai's eyes curved. Maybe it's because he only ate a few pills. /crossover system. Prince Charming, come here, download crossover system. Prince Charming, come here to read the collections below to record the reading record. The crossover system. Prince Charming, come here. Chapter 2343. After that, she reached out and knocked on his report form. Qin Xiu looked up at her, but he saw that her eyes were cold and calm, even containing a hint of warning. Qin Xiu smiled. I know. I won't let the case leak, and I won't let people know how many sleeping pills he took. Wei Wei Bai's concerns were real. This world was not very welcoming to people who were different. If you want to live a peaceful and happy life, of course you have to follow the crowd. Yi Yuxuan took a few sleeping pills, not dozens. This was the best way to say it for him. Wei Wei Bai smiled kindly, then pointed to the examination room. Can I go in? Qin Xiu closed the investigation form. Yes. Wei Wei Bai pushed the door and went in. She saw Yi Yuxuan sitting on the white bed, buttoning his shirt one by one. He heard the sound and looked up. He saw Wei Wei Bai closing the door and walking over. She came so fast that when her fingers pressed on the back of his hand, a hint of subtle surprise flashed in his eyes. Yi Yuxuan did not move, just sat there quietly. His silent and deep eyes had a hint of obedient softness. Affected by the last dream, he was more obedient and well-behaved to her, as if it was natural and natural. Of course, this kind of feeling and character must be suppressed. He could not let her see that there was something wrong with him. Although it seemed a little difficult, Wei Wei Bai's fingers touched his button, just when Yi Yuxuan thought she was going to help him button it. Her fingers suddenly pinched his chin and lifted up her fingertips. His eyes met her smiling eyes, but they sent chills down his spine. Xian, we are so familiar. Let's not say those polite words. What's wrong with you? Tell sister. But the initiator was still smiling and asking questions. If you can't sleep, there are many better ways than sleeping pills. You took so many sleeping pills and slept for so long. Is it because you have a problem? Yi Yuxuan's eyelashes drooped, and he was unusually calm and silent. His problem started after he met her. Then, he realized that his life was already filled with a bunch of difficult problems. She created them. Yi Yuxuan sighed helplessly. If he wanted to lie, he could make up a flawless answer. Unfortunately, he did not want to. He did not want to lie to her. He could not tell the truth. It was really a dilemma, and her words was very gentle. Haven't we reached the point where we can confide in each other? It sounded like a test, but it also sounded like a tease. But there was a serious worry in her eyes. Yi Yuxuan's thin lips moved gently, as if he wanted to say something. Finally, his words turned into a helpless sigh. I'm fine. Would you believe me? Wei Wei Bai paused. Her eyes became clear, and the smile on her face disappeared. Then she nodded seriously, as if I would believe you. Chapter 2344. Wei Wei Bai's expression was cold. She rolled up her sleeves as if nothing had happened and picked up the stethoscope beside her. Yi Yuxuan was about to say something. The stethoscope's round tip was already placed on his chest. That cold touch caused a reaction on his skin. Wei Wei Bai said with a serious expression, Mr. Yi, your heart is beating a little fast. Are you lying? Yi Yuxuan looked indifferent, but his eyes were a little dark. The cold tip of the stethoscope rubbed against his warm skin. It caused a burst of goosebumps. She, who was on top of him, calmly interrogated, Are you a demon or a monster? Or are you some kind of ghost that has taken over this damn sweet body? Yi Yuxuan's eyes were deep and calm, but because of her, they were dyed with a few traces of indulgence. Wei Wei Bai said professionally, Seeing that your heart rhythm is irregular, you need to prescribe some medicine for heart disease. Yi Yuxuan pursed his lips and said in a calm voice, You do need some medicine. Wei Wei Bai raised her eyebrows, and a foxy aura immediately appeared. She pulled the tip of the stethoscope seductively, and then revealed a sweet and hypocritical smile. Sir, is there medicine for me? Although Yi Yuxuan was seduced by her, and his heart was beating wildly, he couldn't help but want to laugh. Feelings, broken and inexplicable emotions. They were all attracted by one person. This feeling was strange, yet familiar. He had experienced too many things. Every time his life was reorganized, it was because of her. Yi Yuxuan's eyelashes drooped, and there was a sense of seduction for no reason. She was just short of putting on a do whatever you want look. He said in a low voice, It's good that you like it. Wei Wei Bai smiled sweetly. Her fingers slowly moved down his neck, then to his cheek. Finally, to his ear. She pinched his ear with her fingertips and twisted it. Yi Yuxuan frowned. He was such a calm person, he almost sat up, but Wei Wei Bai was slowly twisting his ear. Yo, you're not saying anything. Do you think I can't deal with you? Eating sleeping pills to help you sleep? You're courting death. And this wasn't the first time he had eaten it, right? Tell me what's wrong with you. Don't hide it. Am I not qualified enough to know what's on your mind? She heard him swallow 40 to 50 sleeping pills in one go. Wei Wei Bai felt a surge of anger rush to the top of her head. Why did she work so hard to complete the mission? To repay him for saving her life, to devote herself to him in the future, right? In the end, when she rushed back, Yi Yuxuan actually came to hurt her? Did he think that she was easy to bully? She wanted to devote herself to him, so he would be hers by rounding it all up. But he abused himself. She asked patiently, but he answered perfunctorily. Were they breaking up? Was he going to kick her away? Scumbag. Yi Yuxuan felt that no torture could compare to the pain of her fingertips twisting his ear. She was so heartless. He sighed softly. Suddenly, he reached out his strong arm and grabbed her waist. Then, he got up and flipped her under him. Wei Bai felt the world spin. In an instant, she was thrown onto the bed. Her fingers also left his ear. When she regained her senses, Yi Yuxuan was already supporting himself with one hand by her side. With his other hand, he gently rubbed his ears. Half of his ear was red. He shook his head helplessly. There was a hint of helplessness in his calm eyes. Eating sleeping pills is really just to help you sleep. After all, you're always sleeping and I'm bored at home alone. Every time I see you sleeping so soundly, I want to try how you feel when you sleep for so long. // to make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click save at the bottom to record this reading. Chapter 23:45. When he said this, he paused and stared at her with a gentle gaze. Then he finally said in a low voice, word by word, "So I had to take some sleeping pills to test the feeling. I've never eaten this before. My body didn't react after eating 10 pills, so I ate more. This excuse, test the feeling of sleeping." It sounded so sweet that her ears were almost shy. Wei Bai instinctively didn't believe it. But she couldn't resist the gentleness in his eyes and the doting in his indifferent tone, and the soft touch between his breaths. Yi Yuxuan lowered her head. A few strands of his messy short hair fell on her forehead. An ambiguous atmosphere appeared silently. "I'm fine, don't worry. My body has been stronger since I was young. I'm not a demon or a demon. Other than not being good at the ways of the world, I feel that my conditions are average." The corners of his mouth slowly curled up, and his eyes brightened. "So, I should be considered one of the better ones among your criteria for a spouse." Wei Bai couldn't help but hold her breath. The man on her body, the strong scent, was making her blush and her heart beat faster. She couldn't help but turn her face away. "Okay, you pass. Don't eat this thing in the future. If you can't sleep, there are many ways to sleep. If you ruin your body, who will marry you?" Her ears weren't pinched, but suddenly they were dyed red. Yi Yuxuan smiled, but didn't say anything. His heart also beat faster. In the ambiguous silence, the two of them suddenly lost their words. Time passed through a plane. He lost his memory. He guessed that she lost her feelings. All of them were incomplete. The complete her could only be had by the real him. Yi Yuxuan really felt that he was too lucky. He gently approached her as his heartbeat accelerated. Wei Bai also opened her eyes, but she didn't stop him. It was so natural. The two of them hugged each other warmly and gently. It looked like they were about to bang. "Son-in-law, I heard that you committed suicide. Why are you taking things so hard? If there's any illness, let's treat it properly. Why are you taking sleeping pills for no reason?" Bai Changyan waved his official bag and roared as he came in. The moment he came in, he saw the examination on the bed. The adulterous couple. What were they doing together? Bai Changyan stopped in his tracks. Yi Yuxuan and Wei Bai stared at him blankly. Bai Changyan was silent for a while. Then, he took a few steps back, quickly turned around, and rushed out. The door was slammed shut again. An earth-shattering boom was heard. Bai Wei, Yi Yuxuan, Bai Changyan, who had gone out, clutched his chest and then covered his eyes. He muttered, "Youngsters these days are outrageous. They're too passionate." Then, he hugged his briefcase and regained his composure. It seemed that there was nothing else. Then, after checking that there was nothing wrong, Yi Yuxuan obediently followed Bai Wei home to eat. Bai Changyan had eaten his fill and was picking his teeth. Qin Xiu also followed them. The servant put the prepared dinner on the table again. Bai Changyan had already eaten and watched TV while eating fruit. Everyone finished their meal happily and harmoniously. Qin Xiu and Bai Changyan played a few more games of chess. Seeing that there was nothing to do and time to play, they said goodbye. Yi Yuxuan just stepped out of the bathroom after taking a shower, but he saw Wei Wei by arranging the pillows and quilts. Yi Yuxuan was wearing a bathrobe. He was calm with a hint of confusion. Wei Wei Bai called him, "Come and sleep." Yi Yuxuan was silent for a while before slowly walking over. When he reached the bedside, Wei Wei Bai reached out and pulled him onto the bed. Then she stretched out her arms and legs and hugged him tightly. Yi Yuxuan's face was hot, and he quietly let her hug him. But the person hugging him closed her eyes and rubbed his neck with a slightly nasal voice. "Hey, if you can't sleep in the future, you can hug me to sleep." The corners of Yi Yuxuan's lips curled up. He hugged her back and gently rested his chin on her hair. Okay, he slept for a long time, so he definitely couldn't sleep. But being hugged by her softly, he felt really comfortable. Chapter 2346. Wei Wei Bai stayed in the real world for almost a week this time. 10,000 life points was a beautiful watershed. Wei Wei Bai looked at the life points in her hands, then looked at the obedient Yi Yuxuan. She felt that the endless missions didn't seem so difficult anymore. Every time she came back and was with Yi Yuxuan, she could see the hope of a completely healthy body. Wei Wei Bai accompanied Yi Yuxuan to sleep for a week. After making sure that he didn't have the slightest desire for sleeping pills, she was relieved and said to the system, "Let's go, we'll work harder in the next world." Then she closed her eyes and fell asleep. In the real world, her biggest advantage was that she could sleep. The system carried her soul and was about to leave. Yi Yuxuan was leaning on the bed with one hand supporting his cheek. He reached out and stroked Wei Wei Bai's long hair as she slept. His deep eyes were filled with gentleness. He noticed the system's change. He slowly looked up, and his eyes were completely black. "All right, I still don't know your name." The system humbly replied, "The name is not important. It's just a humble code name." Yi Yuxuan asked indifferently, "What code name?" The system said reservedly, "Shaosheng 004, hello, hello." It didn't matter how much he disliked it. He had to be polite on the surface. Yi Yuxuan was indifferent. He didn't even react when he heard the code name. The system carefully carried Wei Wei Bai's soul and tiptoed back to leave. But it heard Yi Yuxuan's indifferent voice. "Now that I know your code name, it'll be easier for me to seek revenge in the future." The system almost died on the spot in the air. What kind of revenge was that? He was so hardworking. What else was the male lead dissatisfied about? Yi Yuxuan sighed indifferently. "So guard her well. If anything happens to her, I'll look for you." The system, ginseng, was already so difficult. Even a host sees hope. Why did he feel that his future was bleak? The system hugged the soul ball and flew away. Yi Yuxuan's indifferent expression finally showed a trace of fluctuation. Then he got up and opened a drawer. There were a few bottles of sleeping pills inside. Although Qin Xiu kept a tight watch on it, it was still easy for him to take it. Yi Yuxuan was extremely calm as she poured a handful of sleeping pills in his mouth. But no matter how she looked at it, the color of the pills didn't seem right. He looked at the large amount of vitamin C. When did he get replaced? She thought of this morning. When Qin Xiu came to scrounge for food, he sniffed everywhere like a hunting dog. Later on, he even went to the toilet for a long time. At that time, he had passed by his room. It was at that time that he was replaced. Yi Yuxuan was speechless for a while. Finally, she put the vitamin C back and tossed another tablet into her mouth to chew. The taste was not bad. It was orange-flavored. Yi Yuxuan opened the door and went out. In his current situation, sleeping pills were the safest and most effective drug to catch up. As for the rest of the drugs, such as anesthesia, if he was too deep in sleep, he might not be able to catch up. She was going to go online and ask someone to get some sleeping pills, but found by Chang Yin sitting on the sofa reading the newspaper. He saw Yi Yuxuan, "Son-in-law, come here, the company's recent stock trend is not right. You see what's wrong." Yi Yuxuan looked at Bai Changyin's enthusiastic, smiling face. It seemed that after Qin Xiu found the sleeping pills in his drawer, he sent someone to watch him. Even if Yi Yuxuan had facial paralysis, at this moment he finally showed a little helplessness. He couldn't say that he was going to catch up with his wife in his dream. If he really said that, he would probably be carried by Qin Xiu to the psychiatric department for treatment. Previously, every time he talked about dreams, Qin Xiu had a "you're sick" expression on his face. Yi Yuxuan stretched out his white fingertips and gently rubbed the bridge of his nose. He thought tiredly. He was indeed sick, lovesickness. Although it was only 3 days, it was really uncomfortable to not be able to catch up and see her. Yi Yuxuan wrapped his arms around his chest and looked at Bai Chongyin's smiling face. Forget it. He suddenly walked over and slashed the back of Bai Chongyin's neck with a knife. His father-in-law fainted. Solved. Yi Yuxuan calmly tidied up his cuffs and then made a phone call. He asked someone to send the sleeping pills. Anyway, he would sleep first and solve other things after he woke up. The psychiatric department was easier. He was familiar with that place since he was a child. The doctors there couldn't talk to him. Chapter 2347. Shizun, the only way now is to use the reverse emotion killing formation and then use your emotion extinguishing sword to kill her. You have to be quick. The red string has already wrapped around the bone and is about to reach the soul body. You can't delay any longer. Once the red string is really connected, Shizun, if you can't solve the emotion thread, you can't soar. The sound of people talking, swords being drawn. Huff, huff, huff. Wei Wei Bai opened her eyes. It was a group of men in white robes, holding swords, wanting to fight and kill. She found herself lying on the cold ground. This was a huge hall. It was antique, richly ornamented. The ceiling was terrifyingly high. There were incantations and other objects everywhere. This was the cultivation world? Just as Wei Wei Bai was thinking this, she suddenly found something was wrong. She reached out with her hairy claws. There were red and transparent threads tied to them. The threads were secondary. The hairy claws were the main point. She actually grew hair? She grew hair. She grew hair. Was there too much male hormones in this plane that she grew a pile of hair? There were more hairs on her legs and hands than the targets, and they were longer and denser. Where did she get the hairy face to capture others? Wei Wei Bai had a face of despair as she reached out to cover her face. Her face grew hair too. She was disfigured. This bolt from a blue hair made her have no face to see people. That group of messy white-robed young men were still nagging about beating and killing. Suddenly, a calm voice sounded like a clear spring hitting a rock. The emotion thread can bind the soul and cause the heart of the bound to be moved and affect cultivation, but it cannot control the mind of the Xiuzha. Just as this voice finished, in a large hall with a silver color as the main theme, everyone was silent. Those white-robed little brothers all closed their mouths and stood up straight, looking like they were listening with serious expressions. Wei Wei Bai used her 2 little claws to cover her face. She also raised her 2 round, bright, light-colored eyes and looked forward. The transparent red thread continued to extend forward. The end of the red line was outside the crowd, on the high platform. Surrounded by immortal mist, a person sat upright on a huge lotus flower. Under a wide white sleeve with red edges, a fair and delicate finger was resting. A thin red thread was wrapped around the fingertip that was so white that it was almost transparent. The owner of the finger was an exceptionally young teenager. Her black hair was tied with a red ribbon, and her exquisite and beautiful face was cold and calm. There was a light pink lotus mark between her eyebrows. She was so beautiful that it was suffocating. His thick and long eyelashes drooped down, and his eyes were deep and limpid. White mist dyed his eyelashes, bringing out traces of hazy light. Everything was noisy in front of him. However, like a fleeting shadow, it quickly settled down. Wei Wei Bai held her hairy face in her hands. She really wanted to shave her own hair when she compared herself to others. She was speechless for a moment before she heard the system say, "I'm here. Do you want to input your memories?" Wei Wei Bai didn't care whether the environment was suitable or not. He immediately said, "Enter." Her heart was burning with anxiety. The system replied, "Yes, bear with it." The memories immediately surged. Wei Wei Bai accepted the memories and strangely twitched the corner of her mouth. Her identity this time was difficult to explain in words. She was a fox spirit, a real fox spirit, not a figurative figure of speech. A real white fox with 4 feet on the ground, pointy ears, and a big fluffy tail. This plane was a high-level plane. It was the plane of immortal cultivation. All kinds of flowers, trees, birds, and beasts could cultivate into spirits and then become immortals. Of course, humans were the most powerful in immortal cultivation. // Chapter 2348. There were also many animals that had cultivated into spirits. She was a little vixen who had cultivated for 300 years and finally gained intelligence. However, because her strength was too bad, she couldn't transform into a human form. Therefore, although she could speak and think, she was still a little animal with a low IQ. As for the man sitting on the lotus, he was 100% pretentious. He was the current supreme existence in the immortal cultivation sections, the ancestor of the Heavenly Gates sect, Wen Jinxian. He was also an existence that all immortal cultivators looked up to. He reached foundation establishment at the age of 13, the youngest in history. Then, there was a series of youngest in history. The youngest to condense the golden core, the youngest to condense the nascent soul, and the youngest to reach the spirit-severing stage. Finally, it was the youngest and only immortal cultivator who had transcended the tribulation to become an immortal. Wen Jinxian had already chosen a good day to transcend the immortal tribulation. However, he didn't expect that the Red Phoenix sect, the sworn enemy of the Heavenly Gates sect, to break Wen Jinxian's cultivation heart. They used all their strength to refine the love thread. This was the upgraded version of the legendary red thread of Matchmaker. Once bound, the male side would develop love for the female. In the end, they would be obedient to the female. It was said that the female sect leader of the Red Phoenix sect fell in love with Wen Jinxian at first sight when she was young. However, Wen Jinxian didn't even look at her. This caused her love to turn into hatred. In addition, she knew that he was going to transcend the immortal tribulation this year. To stop him, Soar, from becoming an immortal, she actually used the lives of all the sects to finally tie the love thread to Wen Jinxian's finger at the last moment. The sect leader was about to tie the thread to her hand. However, Wen Jinxian's sword pierced through her heart, breaking her cultivation and dissipating her soul. But in a moment of carelessness, the love thread fell to the ground and tied itself to the little fox. It was her current furry body. In other words, her body was a little fox without a human form. She tied the red thread to a super immortal cultivator who was about to become an immortal. And she was the active party of the red thread. Fortunately, there was no enmity in this plane, and they didn't know each other. There was also the fate of the red thread. It was probably better to attack. Ding! Target Wen Jinxian. This mission is to obtain Wen Jinxian's love. Target: Wen Jinxian completion rate 0. Time: temporary. Why was the time fixed again? Wei Wei Bai didn't think too much about it. The notification sounded again. Ding! The male lead's favorability is at 0. He has no feelings for you. He is heartless and has no love for you. Looking at you is like looking at a roadside stone. Can you not comment on it? Wei Wei Bai gritted her teeth and then helplessly covered her face. He didn't have the face to see anyone. His hair was everywhere. Perhaps she had sensed Wei Wei Bai's gaze. The man on the lotus looked over calmly. The lotus mark on his forehead was holy and lofty, and his eyes were bottomless. Wei Wei Bai lay pitifully in the middle of the hall. White fur, a pair of light-colored eyes, with a hint of foxy oval shape, looked at him blankly but lovingly. His 2 little paws held his face in fear. He seemed to be frightened by so many people. The red line on Wen Jinxian's fingertips had already penetrated the bone. However, he was not moved at all, nor was he anxious. He just looked at Wei Wei Bai indifferently. Just when everyone thought that their master was going to let go of the little fox, Even Wei Bai felt that the target looked so calm, as if he had no feelings. He probably wouldn't shout and kill at the slightest provocation. However, she saw that beautiful and cold immortal cultivator gently lowering his long and narrow eyelashes, and his eyes darkened. Activate the array and kill her. // to facilitate your next reading. You can click on .you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.